towers and everything, and I had a bunch of those. And I finally just said, "Heck with it, just get rid of them. It's time to let it go. Wipe the drives or take the drives out, and get rid of the rest."
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll just transfer old hard drives into my new machine. It's usually how I do it.
Yeah, but with Mac, it's a little different. You like I do external hard drives, and I keep them, and I can always plug them in and upload the stuff I want, and I keep it. But no, I really am. When I went from PC or IBM to Mac, it was a game changer for me. I will not go back. And then I even went from Droid to iPhone. Not that long ago, probably in the last 10 years. And to me, that was, I'm sorry, I'm sold. I know they're more expensive. I know this, I know that, everything. But when I was getting viruses and stupid stuff on my PC every week, and then at the end of the year, oh, it's not compatible, you have to upgrade. So I'd have to upgrade, the whole computer and everything. And I've had this one for 15 years now.
Yeah.
15 years.
Mine's pushing that, if not more. Because I know I purchased the tower I'm currently right now using. I got it back about maybe a year and a half before I separated from the military. So
Yeah.
yeah, that sucker is old.
but I would keep the computer I have now. But it will not update to the new OS, and everything is requiring it. YouTube's requiring it. So I can't even upgrade on that because I'm limited by my OS right now. Yeah. So the only thing I can do is I gotta give them some more money. I gotta upgrade. So.
And that's usually how it goes with that kind of thing. But
anyway, I believe we're live.
Yeah, we're live. We are live yet again. This is another Plasticast. It's just going to be me and Megamis tonight. Our other two are out on assignment, so not sure what Don and Cyburn are out doing. So,
Probably up to no good.
Probably. So, in their absence, we're going to sit here and talk about some crazy knockoff goodness from, I would even say some of this started in like the late 70s with some of this insanity. But
So we're not going to be talking about knockoff computers. I know we were talking about computers before. That's not what we're doing. We're talking about knockoff toys. And I think we're going to generalize to the transforming aspect, but in general, the knockoffs. Stereotypes. What's bad? What's good? And
what is crazy obscure.
Exactly. And the whole idea is that we have different opinions on certain things, with like the newer knockoff stuff coming out that looks just like the original. I'm totally against. I hate that. I don't like stuff being misrepresented. But the crazy stuff that looks nothing, it might be based off of it, looks nothing, that is cool. I love it. Take the idea and run with it and make it your own. Go for it.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
I am too. I've always been into the really, really weird, obscure KOs. A lot of people have watched my channel, and if they haven't, and you have not gone back through my channel, I've done a lot of different reviews of a lot of these crazy knockoffs. And one of the biggest companies that did knockoffs during that age was 4-Star. 4-Star really hit like, I swear, I think they just went through and grabbed almost every Generation 1 mold they could and turned around and did some kind of weird strangeness to them.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I guess the first one we can talk about here, because I got this screen share up. One of the first ones we can talk about here is one that Brett says this is his picture.
It could be.
It could
It
be.
looks very close to the picture I took for the articles I did for TFW. Um, so basically, uh, we're talking about seekers, okay? And I said this way back, and other companies have done it. If what's the easiest way to sell an item? Well, you look back at the cartoon and you see that even though we primarily at the beginning only knew of three seekers, okay? You know, you had Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. That was it. But then you found out that like Skywarp was the supreme aerial commander, and it wasn't of two other people; it was of an armada. And so the possibility of different configurations, different colors of other seekers to be in that army appealed to me. And then I randomly came across Four Star, and what they did was is they took the basic molds of the seekers and they produced two. They produced a black one and a white one, currently shown as the white one. And what they did was is instead of just copying the mold 100% and changing the color, the wings are different. You know, the actual face is different, and there's two variations. Every one of them, of the black or the white, came with either what they called a Jetfire face or a Starscream face. And then also, and honestly, I can't remember. I can't remember which went with what, but they changed the feet. So the feet either came with a classic, you know, Transformers Seeker little wedge, or it came with these big size 18 shoe feet. So they changed that. But the wings were different. They had, and then of course, they didn't go with the spring loaded missiles. And I honestly think it was due to cost, because these were like Kmart specials.
Hmm.
This is like your Kmart special Seeker. And so to do that, they just made these silver little missiles that plugged in, and they used them for both.
And not to mention the nose cone, the jet engines, and those missiles were all chrome, not just
Well,
paint. Some of them were chrome, weren't they?
the missiles were definitely chrome. Yes, those were chrome missiles.
Because I thought
Um,
the boosters on the back of some of them were chrome as well.
oh no, the boosters are, and
Nose cone.
the nose cone is. It is a hard plastic, similar to the I guess that would be European released. No, the Mexican released Seekers that had a hard nose instead of a rubber nose for the Seekers. It was similar to that, but they chromed them. Absolutely. And then they came out with, like I said, so there was technically four versions. There was the white with the Jetfire face, and then the Starscream face, and then there was a black version right here that also came with the same thing. You know, the Starscream or the Jetfire face.
And this in here looks
I,
like somebody put G2
yep,
decals on there.
yep. But if you'll notice, that is the small foot Starscream version.
Hmm.
Okay, and you'll notice that the fists are in white. Okay, and the missiles are chromed. Canopy is red. So all that's different.
The canopy's also molded different too.
It
It's
is. It has a, in my opinion, a better version. It has a reinforced ridge that goes along the top, so that that plastic is not prone to cracking, which can happen, especially if anyone knows about the it was like a orange canopy. Those tend to crack more than the clear ones. So
mhm.
this was just an extra a little redesign.
To me, it was a huge improvement. I remember back when I came and visited you that one time, one of
Mhm.
the ones you gave me was one of the black ones that was actually in shambles. It needed work. Its legs were detached and all that, so I had to go through and rebuild it. But I believe the one I had was this one. It wasn't the one with the large feet. I remember it did have the wedge feet. So
Yeah.
having one of
So
these in hand, feeling the plastic quality between this and the original, pretty good. Not bad. Really not bad.
so honestly, the only difference in plastic I found was there's there's a structure inside that connects the legs to the body. It's like a upside down U
Hmm.
of plastic, and for the 4 star, it was very thin, and it wasn't as strong as the Hasbro version or the Takara or whatever you call it. Other than that, um, they got it so well that on the white one, okay,
Hmm.
which has black fists, the fists, unless you looked at the mold injection inside, you would not be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, it's
They
interesting.
literally are the same. And we're not going to account for mistransformation on that picture, but
No.
that's okay.
But one thing you can notice, though, if you look at the shape of the cockpit, it's more angular. It's,
Well, they had that extra ridge on top.
yeah. And it didn't come to like a slope at the nose. It was like kind of like a pickup truck type of frame almost. It was like a windshield almost, not
I
like
mean,
a
it really was weird, but I mean, man, look at the wings. They
yeah.
redesigned the whole wings and the stabilizers and the vertical wings. They redesigned all of it.
Like
And
even
in the
the
middle,
diecast part, they put detail in the diecast on the
yeah,
intakes.
yes, yeah, it was not a straight up repaint.
Mm.
They took the bits and they redesigned it and put it together so it would transform. For these two, exactly the same. These transform just like any other seeker.
And they're not bad quality either.
They're not. The only thing I ever found a problem with was that inner piece. And guess what? If you broke it and you got a regular seeker, they fit right in.
Hmm.
They're compatible. And if anyone wants to know, I mean, if you really wanted to like expand your army, every single piece on this landing gear, wings, stabilizers, everything are compatible with any other G1. They're exactly the same.
Which is
So
really
then
cool.
you could make your own. Expand that army. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
think about how many episodes of Transformers did you see Seekers in the background that looked off? That's not what I saw in stores. Well, guess what? You can make it now,
it's
or
very
make
true.
your own. To me, the 4 star Seekers were the Seekers that were just off camera. You just didn't see them, but they were there. They were there. You
Yeah.
know.
And what was amazing is just the quality. They had a die-cast chest. Um,
Yeah.
they're really, really, really nice. Now, talking about what you wanted to mention, a white whale. Um,
So here's the big one. All right, those photos look familiar. Um,
those are your photos.
those are not. Those are
Okay.
not mine. But
Okay.
when I was doing my research, that was one of the things that after I did the articles, people started posting,
Hmm.
and you can see the two different faces. So the white one has the Starscream face, and the black one that is the Jetfire with the mask,
Hmm.
and that's what they were deemed. They were deemed Starscream and Jetfire. I did not name those, but that's what they were. If you scroll down, though, that is the Bigfoot and the little foot. So those were the differences, other than the black plastic and the white plastic that you got.
Otherwise, they
Now
were pretty much identical.
they were identical. Yeah. Now if you go to the gray one, herein we have a different story. So not only did they redesign the wings and all that, but then if you notice, he's got a little pew pew on the left there.
Yeah, that's a very interesting looking gun. Looks like something from Gundam.
Um, I, I researched it and I can't remember exactly where the mold came from, but it
Or
came from
G.I.
another
Joe,
toy.
maybe one of the two.
It came from another toy and they redesigned it. But anyway, the point being is that two things: one, there's a gun there, and two, there's no fists. Now, why? Because they decided that it would be cool to integrate arms into the fuselage, the bottom portion of the jet. So if you took that out, it wouldn't be all sleek and everything. It would have two little arms stuck underneath. And where the arms should be, right where your arrow is, that is one solid piece that just is a flap. That does not break apart and make two arms like a regular seeker.
So
It doesn't.
do you flip this up and then you push on the two arms and then they pop out?
So the two arms are on joints. So once you move the wings out of the way, you can swing those out. And then you would transform the nose like you normally would. Instead of popping the arms out, you would just drop that flap.
Huh.
And it would transform the same way. The difference is you would have a gray seeker. Are you ready for it? With prowl arms. They were 100% casted off of a G1 prowl.
Wow. That kind of makes me wonder if any customizers out there can try to reverse engineer with some broken bits to make that happen.
The big problem was they redesigned the whole chest because of you have on either side of the fuselage, when it flips around and becomes the chest of the robot, you have these two things protruding. And you didn't because the arms folded up. So it actually made for a really unique look in robot mode. He didn't have the null rays on his arms, but they gave him a pew right there, so he can carry that. And that's kind of what they did. Now the problem is that I have seen two box versions of this. One was in this box style, and there was another box style. Finding this is extremely hard. I have only found two. Okay, the first one I found was nothing but the fuselage. Okay.
Hmm?
The second one I found had the wings. It had the vertical fins, but not the horizontal.
Mm.
And I have never found that gun. Sorry, pew.
Oh, gotcha.
No, even mine is missing three parts. They are extremely hard to find. And the last time, if my memory serves me correctly, the last time I saw a boxed one on eBay, and this was many years ago, I tried, but it went for over $3,000.
I'm not surprised. This article here was saying, gray ones have sold around $500, but when was this article written? 2012?
Yeah.
So, yeah, imagine how rare these are now. I do know...
The funny thing is that picture,
Mm-hmm.
I know who owns that. I mean, that's how small, the rarity is. It is really rare.
They really are. They're probably the craziest seekers I've ever seen. see if I can find a photo of the other Seekers that I have had. I don't know if you've had these or not, so give me a second here while I stop this right here and then re-look it up. Since we're talking about Seekers, the ones I'm trying to find are the ones that are undersized. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Why am I only finding one photo? I know there's a bunch of them. There's like a set of like 4 of them actually. That I actually used for Generation 2 for a while until I swapped some stuff over. Let's see here.
I have to see which ones you're talking about because I know they did a 3/4 and it was like green, like a neon green.
That's the ones I'm looking for. I've actually found them right here.
Yeah,
So,
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan.
these, well, the lot here I just saw, this actually went for quite a bit. But these are smaller.
Yeah,
the quality is not as good.
No.
But they're fun. This is the first time we actually really see the thrust mold being knocked off, really. And what they did is they knocked off thrust and probably Starscream. And I know that they did thrust in like a lavender color as well. So there are 2 different versions of this.
Well, the one I was afraid you were going to bring up is that it was called High something, where they did a one-on-one, but they were in goofy colors.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is the plastic was so bad.
Yeah, the plastic quality on these are not the greatest, but these actually do have spring-loaded missiles. They actually fire. And they came with both sets of missiles, the null rays and the small ones. So it's like they almost came with everything you need. Removable landing gear, cockpit opens. They did the whole shebang. But these guys were they were solid plastic. There was no die cast into any of these.
Interesting fact. And this is only if you really, really deep dive this stuff. But for going back to 4-star, sorry. But the landing gear. So a G1 landing gear has a rounded bit that you insert in. Okay. For G2, they were flat. Okay. For 4-star, there's no mold stamp on it. I don't know how else to explain it. So there's a little circle in the back of each landing gear, and for the 4-star, it didn't have that. So for that one, the black one, it had a white landing gear, which is obviously easy to identify. But for the white one, it had a black landing gear, which looked identical. But at the very back of it, there is a mold circle for, authentic Hasbro. For 4-star, it was not there. And that literally is about the only way you can tell if you have a legitimate 4-star landing gear for the White Seeker. We're talking minuscule stuff, little bitty stuff that most people wouldn't know. But if you want a complete 4-star, that's what you look for. That's the little stuff that we're talking about today. It's stuff that doesn't mean a whole lot. Well, if you want to be a completist, yeah, it does. If you just want a nice looking robot that sits there, maybe not.
There's a little better look at the cockpit on that 4-star jet as well.
See the ridge at the top?
Yep.
That is not a bigger top. That is literally like a mohawk piece to reinforce that.
There's a little better look at that.
Yeah, see?
I always loved the design of it too, because it kind of made it so it looked like it had like actual windows with struts and
It was
such
pretty
for
neat.
for support.
The only thing I can never understand is, you can see it in that picture, is that stupid sticker in the cockpit. What is that? Are you so you get in and you sit on circuits and circuit boards? What is that?
That's a good
It made
question.
no sense. But that's where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, that's interesting. But here's a picture of the park that he was talking about. That's very fragile. I do remember having to replace those when you gave me the ones you did because they were broken. So I got hold
Yeah.
of I think it was like a dirge or something like that. I got hold of where his nose cone and everything was completely gone. So I
So
just swapped out those parts and it worked just fine.
it does, but here's the thing: if you are being told that you have a legitimate 4-star, and yes, there are people out there that will swap stuff out and not tell you. But yes, the black one, the inner part was white, and on the white one, the inner part was black. And the only way you can tell is that it's very thin. It is a thinner plastic than a normal one.
Uh-huh.
But I mean,
It's close.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I
You
mean
gonna
this.
sit there and say you're at a booth going, I want to make sure. Let me just take this thing apart. But generally, actually, the easiest way is usually stickers. If
Yeah.
you see curled stickers across the legs and everything, that usually means it's been opened and repaired.
Yeah, these little cross stickers right here.
Right. They would have to cut those or peel them back to open that up.
Yep.
But as you can see, the thrusters there, they're chrome, just like he said.
And the
The
wheels
nose
are
is
die cast.
Yeah. The wheels are all die cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the original.
Yeah, the quality of these are good. The qualities of the ones that I was showing earlier, they are not the greatest. But
Not so good.
But
We'll just go with not so good.
they're not so good. They are a little undersized, but I mean, if you're really into just wanting to collect Seekers in general, there you have options. Like, they're not all the best, but hey, they're not all the worst either. They're not
No,
that
but I mean,
shampoo
where else
bottle
are you going to
quality.
get a? Where else are you going to get a lavender seeker or a neon green seeker? You
Yeah.
know?
Other than the what was it, the e-hobby Sunstorm they put out, and that was
Well, so you had the eHobby Sunstorm, which actually came out. I think it came out after these were produced, so they were actually first. Uh, and then, of course, you have the Bacon 3-pack
the classic mold.
of the classic mold. Correct. So that was available as well, as far as the coloring and building your troops, not necessarily the mold.
Right.
So just the mold, I mean, in my opinion, and we're probably going to talk about Remco. We're probably going to talk about other, knockoffs. But 4-star to me, they did a heck of a job.
Oh, they did. One of the
Wait,
big
wait
ones,
till you get to Mr. Hardhat.
and that's. I was going to talk about the insects before then because there's not very many
Go
of
for
the
it.
insects.
I like those too.
The insects were really interesting. This one here is basically Barrage, but he turns into like a scorpion, which I always thought was very interesting.
It reminded me of what was that? The Scorpion King, when they had those beetles
Hmm.
that ran out, but this also had a scorpion tail.
Yep.
So it was, all right, I get it. I'm
They have
good
little
with it.
antennas too, which is kind of funny. Let's see if this site gives us. Yeah, here we are. That's a little better picture of the alt mode with it. But yeah, the shell is plastic, but it actually has a die-cast body. The tail is die-cast, except for the tip is plastic,
Right.
and it has these little kind of rubbery-ish kind of feelers, antennae.
Pincher. Oh no, that. Yeah. So this is Bombshell. Okay. And so the main body, although the purple is a little different, it is almost identical. And it's definitely identical in transformation. Um, and then they added the tail, which flips down and becomes, I guess, the shroud or helmet to the head because it flips back.
Yeah, it flips over the head. And also, the chest piece is not a translucent piece of plastic. It's now a piece of die-cast. That's actually die-cast metal, too.
Right, right. But like the front part or the back part of the legs, that is plastic, but it is that chrome. So it does have a little heft to it, but it is not die-cast.
No. He does have little wheels underneath the feet and under the front pincer arms. He's got little wheels under there, so you can roll him around, just like Bombshell, which is cool.
You gotta have rolly things.
You have to. Transform just like him, too. Very simple. I thought this was an amazing remold. Probably one of my favorite out of like all those crazy 4-star insects, because I still have one, and he's amazing. I love that little guy.
Well, here's the funny part, and this is why I have issues with certain things, because it doesn't even show off his pew.
No, that picture did not. I wonder.
No, but he does come with one.
He does.
And it was a really, in my opinion, it was like a knockoff of the Bombshell gun.
It was.
Because
I think I remember seeing that before.
It was a barrel with two barrels, one on top, one on bottom. And that was similar to Bombshell because of the nose of Bombshell had the snout with the two little things on the side.
I'm trying to see if I can. Well, do have this weirdo, which is also a
Kickback.
4-star. He's a kickback. A really strange looking kickback is what it is, but it's basically.
It transformed the same.
It's more like but this is more like a grasshopper.
Yeah, well, Kickback was a grasshopper.
Well, wasn't he considered a locust? Isn't a locust supposed to be bigger than a grasshopper?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's just it was different. They did a whole lot of different molding on this one. This is probably
but the neat
not
thing about
best
this one, and that one's broken, is that the forearm broke apart just like Kickback did.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the human-esque hand that flipped around and it made another insect leg.
Yeah, this is a pretty good example of showing how that works.
Right, and then it also came with two other legs that you can see down at the bottom, held by just a basic Phillips head screw that would flip out. And then basically what you did was you didn't fold the back around, you just kind of let it stick out there, and you folded the feet.
Which was interesting. It had a lot of different head sculpt too. The head sculpt is a lot different.
Yeah,
wasn't it die-cast as well?
It reminded me of the Diaclone face, or the simple face, and understand when I say that. Like if you look at like GoBots, their faces were very simple. Visor, a little drawn line for a mouth or a mask. We're done. And that's what this was. You know, like Kickback has what I would consider to be a more of an insect-like face.
Mm-hmm.
This one, they just went, nope, this is what you get. Two bug eyes on top, face in the middle, you're gone. Go.
It didn't look like it folded away like Kickbacks does either.
It didn't. It doesn't. And then the other thing is that here we are. Look, gold. Oh my God, gold plastic. It's got to break. Nope. Doesn't. Nope. It doesn't suffer from any of the gold plastic. It might have gold plastic in it, but nope, it doesn't. This thing's sturdier than a G1 gold plastic bot.
Yep. Which are really cool. I have never had those, this guy particularly in hand, I've always wanted to get hold of him. He's one of the ones that's escaped me so far. In time, I
Believe
might
it or
even
not,
find one.
believe it or not, that's one of the easier ones to get.
Yeah, and I understand there's a. They are on eBay quite often. I just never really pulled the trigger on one.
Hit the third insect.
And the third insect, wasn't that this one?
No, no, that was a try.
Yeah, that's Try Spy. What was the third
So that
insect?
that one is try fly.
Yeah, Try Fly.
The one right there, green.
This one?
Scroll up all the way to the right. That one. That one. So they came out with this one, which, as you can see, like I said, it came with a pew. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, it is essentially, they just went ahead and just straight up copied Bombshell. But then they go, we got to do something different. What are we going to do? Well, let's make the nose different. Look at the nose.
Yeah, the nose is different, and also notice the back. This is different too.
It is. It's the
They
same
did some
general
remolding.
design, but it is different. And then they did that like teal green. Hey, let's do something teal green, whatever. And I dug it. I mean, I thought that thing is gorgeous.
It is.
I mean, if you take all three of those and you line them up, and you put up the three Insecticons, you're gonna look at the three Insecticons going, man, that kind of looks bland, kind of lame, purple and black. Look at all these colors over here. You know, it was different.
It was a lot different. That's one thing I did like about the Diaclone colored Insecticons versus the.
Well,
like this is a
the
good
Diaclone
example
ones
right
had a green, yeah. So it kind of took from that color wise, but then they just I really think someone just went go wild, do it.
And
And
this,
yes, that's another knockoff.
Mhm.
I do not believe that is 4-star though.
Don't know exactly what this one is, but this one's gnarly. I like the face. Just how plain Jane the face is. Those huge antennas are nuts.
Oh, yeah, well, absolutely. just sick. I love it.
Yeah, it's and also the way the wings are done on this is so cool. Like
I always thought they were like little chef knives.
little butter knives.
Yeah. Put those on top. What are we gonna put on top? Well, I'm looking at my butter knife right now. Let's go with that.
Yep. And the die-cast chest again, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing what a knockoff looks like compared to the originals, the knockoffs to me always knocked it out of the park, just because they were just so different compared to everything we standardly see all the time. Let's see here. I'm gonna browse through here and find out. Let me look up that Tri-Spy that we're looking at.
All right. So they did 3. It's funny because it's try.
Mm-hmm.
They did 3 different ones. They did a jet, which is that one.
Which is this big crazy thing here.
Yeah, that is the Try Fly, which was a dragonfly. Okay.
There's a good picture of them in box. This has even got the weapons, which looks like a Soundwave missile.
I hate to say this, but is that feeding? Because I'm not seeing on the live feed. I don't see what we're talking about on the screen.
Let me stop it again, and then I'll start it again.
All right. Sorry for the last 15 minutes.
Is that working now?
Get it on there. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So basically, this is a dragonfly. Okay. And if you look at it, I have no idea where they got this from. I have no idea because I have not seen anything else that looks like this. but I can tell you that it is extremely fragile.
Oh yeah, like the feet to the dragonfly literally form the chest of the robot. They fold
Well,
in
and
on themselves.
the neat thing is the feet actually have gears inside, so that when you pull them out, these things slide down and hold it in place. So it's not just a friction snap. There's gears in there, and they break. The clear yellow wings will break. Now the funny thing is the little mandibles at the front.
These.
Yeah,
Hmm?
those are metal, held on by a screw and plastic parts. It's gonna break.
It didn't have a whole lot of die cast. I didn't think this one
It
did.
really didn't. It was literally um, those two mandibles, and then yeah, like you were talking about the two accessories that came with it. They literally took a Soundwave missile and made it a sword because why not?
Yep.
Go buy it.
This here must be where the instruction manual must have went. Probably
Correct.
missing. This was
Correct.
probably where sticker sheet was.
Correct.
But yeah, that's really cool, and it's 4-star. What I loved about 4-stars, a lot of their boxes had this same look to it, which was interesting.
Well, they were trying to play off of like the first G1, where the first ones that came out, the boxes were all the same. The background was all the same. It was just a character that was different.
Hmm.
And you had this. If you look at the bottom of that box, you had this square, tactile, you know,
The grid look.
pattern, the grid pattern. And then if you think about it, all G1s had that starburst. Well, they kind of did it as a sunset type thing.
Which is funny because if you look at GoBots, GoBots also had that grid thing going on too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
So it's like they were like, hey, GoBots and Transformers do it. Why don't we try to mesh them or something? I don't know.
yeah, it was
Especially,
weird.
and I love the box art of the robot itself. This is like a lost thing to me. Seeing this retro artwork, it's just so cool.
Well, go to TriSpy while I try and find something here.
I typed in, let me just type in 4-star Tri-Spy and see if any more come up.
Should be a spider. That's it.
Yep. Let's see if it has any
Okay.
more photos of it. Yeah, here we go.
Those look familiar also. But anyway. Yeah, it was a helicopter. And he turned into the dumbest thing I ever saw. But it was cool.
Yeah.
It just, it was.
Does he actually have a spider mode, or is he?
Yes.
Where's the?
See, that's the other thing. It's not even in there.
Mm.
What's it say on the packaging? 3 and 1.
Yeah.
And you only see 2. And if you look up in the corner, the right-hand corner of the box, you can see. You flip him over, and these are always broken. So,
Wouldn't these right
it's-
here become the legs?
so basically, those break apart and become twice as long. Okay? And then you push up, and the whole thing pops open to make them spread. So, remember, that thing's held under tension also. And we're talking kind of cheap plastic. They broke.
That's probably
And
one of the rarest
We
ones.
just lost it again.
Oh, it went away.
Yep.
Silly thing.
Yeah, this Discord is. I'm not a
I
fan.
don't, I really think sometimes Discord is just being dumb.
There
But-
it goes. There it goes. It's working on it. It's trying. So, like I said, if you look in the box artwork in the right hand corner, it does have a spider mode. It is 3, and even with Trifly, I'm trying to remember the other mode. There's the jet, there's the dragonfly, and it has a robot mode. So they all had, when they say try, it means three. They had
Hmm.
three modes. These were triple changers.
Which is interesting. These are triple changers that I don't think anybody's even tried to knock these things off since 4 star. Like,
Now,
it's strange because you'll see sometimes knockoffs of knockoffs, and this hasn't ever happened, which is really strange and a very, very interesting take on things. And I haven't seen anybody with 3D printers or anything try to even make this stuff, which is kind of crazy nowadays. You know, to even try to attempt to recreate something that's so rare to even get a hold of. Like, these things are very rare. Is there a different one?
there are three. So those three are the only ones I could find for those.
I didn't know if there was another one or not.
I am trying to remember how to find anything on TFW, and I can't. I was trying to find it, so we may have to just go without it. Sorry, I'm not a big fan of TFW. I don't like this 2005 website.
I mean, it is a very old website, that's for sure. But, I mean, at least it's not ran by, you know, a huge organization or something. So we're going to move on and talk about Mr. Hardhat.
My favorite. My favorite.
See if I can get some good pictures up of him. There we go.
You want to talk about controversy? This is controversy. Okay? First thing is, not one of these designs are Hasbro.
Uh-uh.
But, if you look at the head, looks an awful lot like Jetfire, doesn't it? Sure
Yep.
does. If you had a picture of the weapons that came with it, a lot of them looked an awful lot like Transformer weapons.
Let's see if I can find a picture of that while you're talking about it. Oh, this has got a
All right.
weapon.
Yeah, that was the machine gun that.
Okay.
No. But you'll find Omnibot weapons. You'll find Soundwave weapons.
Let's see.
But there you go. It's gonna be hard to see because of the angle. But yeah. So you have 3 Omnibot weapons there. You have 2 Soundwave missiles, and then you have these like what they call round can machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just other stuff thrown in.
And it looks like that missile pod looks like Swoop's missile pod.
So the missile pod is actually a G1 Seeker.
Oh, is this a Seeker one? Okay.
It's the Seeker, and then they couldn't figure out how to put it all together, so they made these 2 silver pieces. And it's not streaming, by the way.
Oh, what the heck?
Still,
This silly thing. Discord. Behave yourself.
see if it loads this time. There it goes.
Might have been
So-
because I was trying to zoom in on it. There.
Okay, it's working on it. There it goes. So if you look at it in the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see these 2 big silver pieces. So basically what they did is they decided that these things cannot combine. We need to put something together that they will combine. And these 2 pieces kind of make like an X for the skeleton,
Mm-hmm.
for everything else to plug into. And when you plug them all together, you get, show a picture of the combined.
Okay. Actually, this was a good site to go to because it actually had good pictures of it.
So I mean, like, none of those look like anything that we know.
No,
But then you come up with that right there.
with this thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, let me see if I can find a better picture. They might actually have it combined because they have it all like took out.
And if you notice, like the colors
Maybe not.
change. So there's a
Yeah,
blue chest, there's a red chest, there's a blue head, there's a red head, there's all that. And only because I know that this came out as a gift set, and it also came out individually, just like Hasbro did.
hmm
I believe that the gift set came with certain colors, and the individual ones came with the alternate color. And I can only base that upon the products I have, but I cannot definitively say that they didn't get mixed. But I can tell you this: if you're looking at a Mr. Hard Hat that has a, let's just say, a blue chest and a blue crotch, they're mixed
hmm
because they alternate. It doesn't matter if it's blue on top, red on the bottom, or red on top and blue on the bottom. That's how they were supposed to be made.
the vehicle individual robots themselves, were they ever any different colors, or are they
No,
they're all just
not
pretty
that I
much
can
standard?
tell. No, from what I can tell, in the research I've done, it's literally the combiner parts of the only different colored portions.
That's
Everything else is
interesting.
the same.
That's
You know, and
strange that they would change
we're
that.
actually talking about 5 parts: 2 fists, a crotch, a chest, and a head,
Yeah,
and those were alternating in colors.
pretty much these
And as
pieces
you can
here.
see, right. So you have right there. You have a blue crotch, red chest, blue face, and blue hands. On the other set, those would be reversed. So they're still alternating, but they were opposite. If that makes any sense.
It does. Kind of makes me wonder why these, like, well, these couldn't have been some kind of official thing, other than if they would have just not used Jetfire's head, which, to be honest, would have been more of a Macross thing than Hasbro.
Well, and honestly, during the '80s, the mid '80s, if you look, you will see Macross in a lot of lines because they never secured the rights,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how that happened. That one is warned that shovel should be all chrome, not blue. But and they were made pretty good. They were simple,
Oh yeah.
you know. You flip the legs down, you flip the arms up, and you revealed the head, and that was it.
hmm
But they went together to make such a glorious, stupid looking combiner.
This is a great little thing. We don't ever get enough plows like this in Transformers.
To me, that's a snowplow.
Yeah, it's a snowplow. Like, and like steamrollers. Where's our steamrollers and Transformers? You know, and snowplows. We don't get any of them. There's a lot of knockoffs out there, though.
Yeah.
I have a,
Yeah.
I actually have a steamroller Micromaster. It's pretty cool. Had it for quite
And then
some
there's
time.
the stupid machine gun.
Yeah.
Straight up. I mean, why?
It's like
Why
a
not?
50, It looks like a 50 cal. Like, why?
It definitely is a
Right
50
there.
calorie water cooled. Yeah. It's a 50 calorie water cooled brownie.
Yep.
It's what.
It's like these guys
Like,
are just, I don't know, probably building something next to a military base. And like, oh, there's a gun. I'm just going to pull it off this tank and use it.
the funny thing is, and if I could ever find my article, I did it. Every single one of these pieces connects and makes an armored vehicle mode.
Huh?
They all plug in. They all have a reason.
Yeah, actually, they're right here. They got
Just like
pictures of it right here.
Devastator.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like Devastator. Devastator had to wear all of his combiner bits, and yeah, it is a parts former. Sorry, it is. But they had a use in the attack mode, or whatever they called it. Combat mode, whatever.
It's very
And
cool.
the neat thing is with this one, There's one connection that's kind of iffy, but other than that, I can tell you right now, if you pick this up, it will hold together just as good as any Devastator.
So it won't
It
separate like
yeah.
Devastator does. Like every time you pick him up, it just tries to
Well,
go.
yeah, but because they use this gray piece, it kind of holds together.
Mm,
The thing I find is like the connecting ports to the arms, they flop a little. The shovel on the back kind of folds down. But as far as the core piece going together, unless you have a damaged one, it's pretty secure. It locks in pretty well. I would say it locks in definitely better than Devastator, because how many people have picked up Devastator and the top goes from the bottom? Oh,
yep. The other thing I thought it was kind of interesting with, because I've actually handled a knockoff version of Devastator, which was modeled after the Diaclone version, that the waist piece for, like the waist cover piece, the little, not the smaller piece, actually plugs
correct.
into the front of long haul, not underneath long haul on those.
So also understand if I'm selling you parts and you say I need that, it's called the small shield, or some people call it the crotch shield or whatever,
Hmm.
and I'll say, okay, which version do you have? What do you mean? Because they came with a peg that if you had long haul with the opening in the front to secure it, it was for that. That's version 2.
Yep.
If you had version 1, it was flat. There was nothing there. So, yeah, I mean, there's version 1, version 2, and the parts have to go with what you want.
Right.
You know, it's just like, what is it? On Seekers, small peg, big peg. Wheel jack, small peg, big peg.
Hmm. And some of those
So
were just
always
remnants from
beware.
Diaclone stuff too.
Sure, but always be aware when you're buying parts from a dealer, and there's great dealers out there. I'm just telling you, they're fine. But there's also others that will just sell you anything, and they're not going to work. They just won't. You know, you have version 1, you have to get version 1 parts. Version 2, you have to get version 2 parts. Stuff like that. We dropped the feed again.
I did.
All right,
Because I'm looking for the other. What's the name of the other 4-star
Remco.
combiner? Huh?
Oh, no, Remco is what you're thinking of.
The race car one.
Racetron.
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 That's the other 4-star one that I was thinking of.
But it wasn't 4-star. It was Remco.
Oh, okay. That's why it's not coming up.
I think. Wait a minute. No, because there was another one too. Anyway, Racetron combined. There. Gotta get it. Ouch.
Yeah, Racetron. I'm trying to find a full picture of him, not just a part of him. What the heck, people?
I apologize in advance. I'm suffering from a back problem because I went bowling and I'm over 50 and I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm in a little pain. It's all right.
It's all good.
Trying to work it out.
Well, that's not the best example, but I mean, we'll use this for now while I try to find more.
Yeah.
There we go.
I am sorry. Yes. That I can't remember if it. And I'm sorry. I've done so many of this. You know,
I think this one
categorized.
was 4. This was a 4-star as well.
That might have been one. But they essentially they kind of went with the GoBots, because those really look more like GoBot cars than Transformer cars,
Hmm.
and it just worked. It looked so good. Their names are horrible. Here I am. What's your name? Cadillac. Okay. Cadillac.
But one was Catabot, one's Fiat
Yeah.
Bot, one is a
Yeah.
Chrysler Bot, the other is BM Bot, which is a BMW, which I would love to
You
have.
think? You think?
Porsche bot, and then Pontiac bot, because he's a
What was the other
Pontiac.
item?
Pontiac bot.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna take all the names and put bot on the end of it. That'll work. Send it out.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much what they did.
So this would be kind of your, because everybody talked about like GoBots being the Kmart version of Transformers. Well, this would be your dollar store equivalent to Transformers if you're going to be putting it on a tier list, I guess.
Well, the neat thing is one of the things I really, really enjoyed, and it's not a knockoff, but was the combiners we got from GoBots.
Huh?
You know, because they were able to make everything combined without any parts.
Yep.
And if you look, what was that, Porsche bot,
Mm-hmm.
who becomes the torso,
Yeah, he becomes the legs.
that's all him, baby. There's no parts added. There's no waist section. The two pieces you see in the front were literally just like to hide everything. They
So this was really the only parts forming this and the fists, right?
yes. But they would connect just like it's not monstrous.
Puzzler.
Puzzler, thank you. It was just like Puzzler, where they would connect to each other. So, to me, you can't tell me they didn't take inspiration from GoBots when they made this.
Oh, they had to have.
They had to.
It's still amazing. I think this thing's cool. Really wish I could find this thing, but
And I don't think, well, I'll give you a hint on that. I don't think there were any other color versions. It literally just came like this. I did find them individually, and I do have them carded, but I'd have to look. I think the colors were the same.
they didn't come with the combining bits, though, did they? Individually.
They did. They did. Yeah. And I'll tell you this. The gift set, Racetron, is super cheap in Europe. So find yourself a buddy like I did and have him buy it for you. Even with the shipping, whatever's going on in the world. I mean, this wasn't that many years ago. This was probably about 5 years ago. I still got him to get me 2 of them for like $80.
It's very cheap.
Super cheap. They're super cheap over there. But over here, no. Super hard. You'll pay $300 for that. Easily.
So what you do, people, is you find your buddy that buys you 2, and you flip one to cover the cost. If you're really into one. If you're wanting
The main thing is just buy it. Find a buddy. I mean, I have friends all over the world, and it's because of this stuff. Transformers, knockoffs, everything. You make connections. You make friends.
You do.
Works that way.
Alright, so let me see if I can find that Remco one that you're talking about, which I have quite a few bits and pieces to. I love the Remco Zybots.
The Zybot, what the heck was the name of that thing?
I cannot remember offhand, but I am going to find. Oh, it's just called Multiforce.
That's probably why I forgot it. And yes, I have that one too. It
I don't have the combining parts, but I have quite a bit of him to make him if I wanted to.
so it really was. I mean, just look at it. You're like, what the crap is that? Blow up the picture of the box. So you had the combiner bits of the shoulders, the chest, and the crotch, and the feet, all that stuff.
Not
I
to
mean,
mention the guns. Just
well, that's the other
slapped
thing.
all over
For
it.
the first time, all the little itty bitty guns, like for Devastator. I mean, let's be honest. What'd you do with the guns? The little individual guns you got with Devastator. What'd you do with them?
Lived in a Ziploc bag.
Or you like put them in the back above long haul, so they just sat there and did nothing.
Uh-huh.
This one takes all 6 guns and you can plug them in. They're there. The shoulders, the little hip, goofy looking thing.
Uh-huh.
They just plugged them in. But it was a neat idea. And as horrible as that face is, that is definitely a face only a mother could love.
That's very true.
But I love it. And yeah, that's how it came. And it came in an eggshell clam, whatever you call that. And yeah, they were always crushed.
Yeah. I mean, the packaging was not the best for these.
Right.
Oh, I love how doofy this picture is.
I mean, going down the aisle looking at this as a kid, would you go, that's a cool looking robot? No. It looks like a dumpy mess. But he is super cool. Absolutely. He's actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think I like him more than Mr. Hardhat.
Little picture of how he actually assembles here with the instructions.
Right, and you see like the centerpiece holds everything together.
Mm-hmm.
That one
This
holds
piece
everything
right here.
together. Yeah,
Just
But-
have this and then the shoulder piece, and then there you go.
it is. But you see the back piece on the 4th panel.
Mhm. This.
It held everything together. It was tight. You could pick it up, no problem.
Kind of funny how this is more superior than, you know,
In some ways,
and than
In some ways.
Devastator was in a lot of ways. Because I don't know how well. Because I mean, I had a Diaclone Devastator at one time. Mine never had any issues of falling apart from the friction joints, but I wasn't ever really sure how well one of these held together because I never actually owned one of these. There's a good
it
picture of the way the
holds
back
very
looks.
well. It has double, more than one way to lock it in. Whereas Devastator was just, you had the top of long haul, and you had that connector piece that was the head, and it friction held. So if you picked it up, sometimes it would pop off. This actually has a little, for lack of a better term, a C-clamp that goes behind it and just locks the bottom and the top together.
Mhm.
And
It
it
does.
works great.
Looks like it does
However-
have arm articulation too. The shoulders rotated. Right?
It has the same articulation that Devastator had. You can move the arms. That's pretty much it. You know? But the problem is all the blue bits you see, like the feet, the main connector, the back piece and all that, they're very thin. They're very brittle. And they break easily. You know, even that back piece has little tabs that pop out. They break very easily. So I don't see a lot of these surviving. So in my opinion,
Yeah.
do I think this is rarer than a Devastator? 210%.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing is, because since Devastator's been reissued so many times and
Right.
even knocked off so many times, it's easy to find parts to even cobble one together, even if you're not wanting to get a 100% complete, authentic one. But this thing here, you would have a lot of problems trying to complete.
in today, would I buy a complete one? Sure. Would I buy an incomplete one? No. Because you just not going to find those parts.
No.
You just will not find them. And the only way you'll find them is if someone dumps on eBay, I don't know what this is, type thing.
Yeah. Which
I mean,
it has happened in the past. It's happened to me.
Dude, I found a gun to a G2 breakdown in a junk lot. In a junk lot. Now, if you typed in G2 breakdown, would you find one? Nope. Nope.
Nope. It's very true.
It's just crazy to me how rare these guys actually are. Like I'm doing a search right now. I just put in 4-star. Right? There's 141 results. Let's just try and find any connecting pieces. Any. And I bet the only thing you'll find is maybe the head. Found any so far? Oh, there it is. I found one where the cement man, which is the upper portion of Mr. Hardhat. I found one without broken tabs. By the way, those tabs break too. So I found one.
For how much?
$40. Isn't bad.
Not bad, no.
All right. That's not bad. It really isn't.
So, moving on from Remco, because Remco did a whole lot of stuff. They also did a line called BuyBots as well, which was basically an extension of Zybots. It's literally what it was. They just introduced like a few new molds. Wasn't anything like groundbreaking, but one big line that I remember a lot of, and I'm sure you did, was called converters. Love some converters. These are
I have
cool.
a problem with that because I don't consider converters to be knockoff.
Yeah, in a lot of ways they're not.
GoBots are not knockoff Transformers. They were their own thing. Converters were their own thing. You know, it literally was. When you talk about Remco and 4-star and everything, they just knocked off an idea and threw something out. That is a knockoff.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm a little sad you didn't even talk about the jump starters.
Oh, jump starters? We had tons of those too.
So many.
Oh,
and
good
then
God, yeah.
Goes, and I'm still at that phase.
Let's backtrack to that one then.
Yeah, I've got all the jump starters. Nope. Because they changed the colors, they changed the head. The simple form was the same, but there were so many. Oh my God. Chrome, blue, red, ears, no ears. I mean, it was insane. Now those are Argentina. Those were not. Those two were Argentina.
These are actual knockoffs, though.
They were. They weren't 4-star.
Yeah.
But they were knockoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, Argentina had some weird ones. Like this right here where you see the Robot Man X that's in the Generation 2 thing. That is actually an Argentina.
What was that called? Antex?
Yeah.
Annex? Yeah, that was kind of a different, because my understanding is they kind of got the license because they were going to other countries that Hasbro and Takara didn't. So it's not really a knockoff. It's an extension.
Yeah. So exactly. I've always considered Saltman and Robot Man X to be Generation 2 because they did come in the G2 packaging, which I consider them Generation 2, but they're Argentina. You wouldn't have seen these in Europe. You wouldn't have seen these in
Well, the problem
China.
was is those, if I remember correctly, those came out in the 80s, not the 90s. They came out when they decided they weren't going to expand to other countries, and they gave the license to
Yeah,
other
they
countries.
came out in this packaging in the 80s.
I use this a lot. I would put that as a G 1.5. It's not G2. I don't think that's G2. The colors are different. I give you that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more of a timeline. It was that in between kind of the European stuff we talked about before. It was not quite G1, but it really wasn't G2.
Yeah, because I mean, it says Transformers in the G2 font with the G2 emblem, but it actually doesn't say Generation 2 on it, though.
It is not. It was during that transition. It's 1.5. Sorry. Okay, 1.7. I'm not going to push it further than that. So
that's okay. I mean, that's always been a thing, a huge debate, and I don't mind debating it. I'm one of these kind of guys. I've accepted that. Yes, Generation 2 really didn't start till whatever happened here in the States and a little bit in Europe, but Japan barely even got any G2 at all. But 1.5 to me, I kind of dragged them in, and I also look at Machine Wars as kind of it too, because if you look at Skywarp and a Machine Wars, he literally has the Generation 2 Decepticon emblem on his wing. So
yeah, don't.
I don't know. I span it a little larger.
Machine Wars is Machine Wars. It's just like Beast Wars is not G2.
Yeah.
Beast Wars is Beast Wars. It was a transition.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from 93 to 96, we had so much thrown at us. All right, we had the European, we had the outside the I'm not going to say the States, but other countries stuff coming out, and then we had Machine Wars, and then right during that time we also had Beast Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So all of it was kind of thrown together, and there is a timeline, but I would not classify all that as G2.
No, I understand that.
G2 was its own.
It is its own thing, but in my screwed up mind and brain, I like to see it like that. But that's okay. I understand the authentic way, and I also understand the way that I personally look at it. But jump starters, they even had oversized ones.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like this
I
one
mean,
here.
They were dumpy.
And some of them actually had friction motors. Some didn't. Some had a full different alt mode where they actually had like a starship nose.
Yeah, they had extra piece that would flip when you transformed it. That front piece would flip back to reveal the head.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a little extra thing they added for whatever reason. The funny thing is that if anyone has ever gotten parts lots and they see these oversized looking jump starter guns, that's what they go to. Mm-hmm. It's for them because they are identical, except they're just bloated. They're bigger.
Yep. And then they did this weirdness where they decided to give them a dinosaur head.
Yeah, that was horrible. That was horrible.
Was it, this had to be?
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on the whole Marvel. Let's do jump starters, because they did.
Yeah.
And they were horrible too.
That they did. This is more of a 4-star style right here, where it's got like the insect head, the weird wings sticking out of the side, and then there's the version here. You don't have an actual. It's alt mode, but it's got like little little guys that are like molded into its legs, like they're all machine guns or something, like a tank. And
well, that's when
the arms almost look like submarines.
Well, they took out the no driver aspect that went from Takara to Hasbro, and then went back to Takara.
Mm-hmm.
to where every mech was piloted.
Yep. Which is interesting because that's the two 4-star that came out, and these guys came out in different colors too. Like the one I have down here, mine has a blue chest, not the red. So I know they like alternated colors or something like that, kind of like they did with the seeker jets we were talking about earlier.
Right, because if you can make one, why not make two?
Exactly. All you do is swap over the color of the mold, and you got two different robots. Very
Right.
interesting time with jump starters. Jump starters is strange, very strange. But there's so many different variants of these guys. Like, here's a good picture of the other one, because he actually has like little antennas. Let's say he has a dog head. So,
I don't think I've seen that one. An all blue chest.
yeah, I have one.
I'm sorry, an all silver chest.
Oh, yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know. I don't reckon I've ever seen the all silver, but I mean, there's obviously the variant here that's got a silver chest to the red for the bug face one.
So my first inkling is that someone hodgepodged that together, but could it have been made? Yeah, I mean they literally took every mold and just swapped them around and changed the colors and did everything they could do to milk as much as they could off that license.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting, though. Thought it was very cool. Here's the Argentina one.
Which was licensed. That's licensed.
Yep. And here's the one with Saltman.
Yep. Saltman Z or X.
Yep.
Okay.
They're very cool. They're just a different color. That's all they really are. No huge difference from what I've heard. Other than the guns aren't chrome, they're just silver.
Some were and some weren't. That's just it. What about the Dinobots? Did you get pictures of that?
I did not, but I will look up your 4-star the prehistory Dinobots, I should say.
Prehistoric.
Yeah.
So let's go with Grimlock. We give him a horn and give him big razor teeth.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if I can get a good picture. Here we are.
The feed dropped again.
Did it?
Yep.
I'll start it back up again. Thanks for keeping an eye on it. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
You say that, but it's probably been 10 minutes since I looked, so who knows?
But yeah, he's got
And yet,
more of
he's
a
in
rounded,
bronze.
huh?
He's bronze.
Yeah. He's bronze. He's got gold versus silver chrome.
Yep.
He
A
does.
chrome sword.
Yeah. He's got that horn on his head. His teeth are very sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has this kind of a ridge on his back that is rounded, not angular like Grimlock's normally is.
And then they said, let's give him the worst paint job ever. Look at those eyes. Good.
Yep.
Just slot it on there. I don't care.
Just throw it on there. We don't care what color it is.
I think it's when you're going between different
They also
pictures.
omitted. Say it again.
When you're going between different pictures, you're losing the feed.
Oh, okay. I hate when it does that.
I don't know why it's doing it.
Yeah, well, probably my computer being slow. There's a good picture of showing how they omitted the driver portion. And
Correct.
you can literally call him a butthead because now he's got kind of a butt on his head.
Yeah. why they did that.
I don't know.
But
But if you notice, his hands are different as well. He actually has
yeah,
fingers.
they were more splayed out. But I mean, the thing that kills me the most is why a rhinoceros horn? I mean, really, why?
I think they were trying to make him more of a kaiju than
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, big fan of Godzilla here, so you know how that goes. Let's see if I can find. Here's a good one of the teeth. That's how different the teeth are on him. And he actually has, seems like more of an underbite than Grimlock normally had.
Well, he definitely has some teeth there. But I mean, just look at, and this is actually a good version. The eyes, they actually did a good job on this one. Usually they're just splat, red eye splat. You're good, go. And the paint detail was not as good as Takara.
No.
They didn't have to worry about the sharpness and all this that and the other. So the teeth they are definitely pointy. I can tell you.
It's like it gave him extra fangs in the front too.
And then they made him a vampire or something. I don't know.
It looks like he has a tongue.
There is a metal plate that when you open it completely up, it pops out. It pops straight out.
Yeah. So it's different. It's a lot different than.
And then the dome on the top. Honestly, the only thing I can think of, and this is going to be weird, it may not. I think the horn and that dome on top is so they could try and say, no, we didn't copy Grimlock. We made this.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of did little things to make it different. And that was probably from a legal point of view.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it serves no purpose. It looks... I still like it.
It's so dumb, we love it.
Well, that's the big thing about knockoffs. I mean, they're so dumb. You're like, dude, I gotta get that.
Yeah. Like, it really is a strange thing. So let's move on to my favorite, which is... Let me get this picture here to come on. I'm a huge Triceratops fan. Here's the prehistory Triceratops version of Slag.
That is called the reindeer slag.
Yep. Because he actually has deer horns. And this looks more like feathers around his neck more than a plate. And he's got little nubs on his tail. Like little sharp nubs, which is kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he does have sharp teeth as well. And they added an extra horn.
So, what's not pictured here is he also came with a gun, and he also came with a sword, and the sword was chromed.
Mm-hmm. The missiles are a little different, though.
It is, but the launcher was kind of different because of the color. But the missiles, yes, they literally didn't want. They thought projecting a sharp missile was a bad idea. Hello, Hasbro. So they added this little. They didn't round the missiles off, which, if anyone knows that, especially on Slag, that a first release the missiles were more pointy. In the second release, they were rounded off. What they decided to do, let's just put a ball on the top of it. And that's what they did.
So he's now shooting little Christmas trees.
Yeah, I mean,
he looks like a reindeer, so he might as well be shooting Christmas trees, right?
I think someone had a Christmas theme in mind on this.
I agree.
Oh, by the way, so yes, the plastic, all right, all of the plastic, if it looks green, like that had a greenish tint to it,
Mm-hmm.
it will break.
Yeah, it's very fragile.
It is very much like gold plastic syndrome. And it has to do with just like I don't know if people know or not, but like a blue streak, the blue that used at that time is very similar to gold plastic. It will snap. Is it gold? No, it's blue, but it will still snap. Same thing happened with this. The 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 plastic they used to make this, to me it looks green, but
Yeah, it
however you
is
want to,
green.
it it will snap, especially those back wings. They will break.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a little tidbit that no, Hasbro wasn't the only one that screwed up on plastic. It was Universal.
Yes, it was Universal. Funny, this is kind of a a head thing here. They actually did remold. It looks like quite a bit of
Well,
the
look at the
clear
lower
piece.
jaw.
Yeah,
Look at the lower jaw. You have flat, no teeth, and then you have pointed teeth. And then let's give him another rhinoceros horn, because why not?
and if you look at the side of his head, he's actually got kind of vents carved in, where
Yeah.
Slag didn't have any of that. So they did remold quite a bit of this front piece for him. Pretty much the whole front, honestly. The
Oh
inside
yeah.
portions look the same, but everything else
Um,
was remold.
Other than quality, they were identical. Yes. Even the ratchet joints on the arms were the same.
Hmm?
The springs are very close. The difference is that if you open up a Takara or Hasbro, they were black springs because they were coated. With the knockoffs, they didn't coat them, so they were like copper, copperish color
Yeah.
springs, or sometimes silver springs. And I've actually had them to where I've tried to repair them and I take them apart, and you would have a copper spring on one side and a silver spring on the other. So it didn't matter. The quality control on these was not on par.
No.
Hence why in my opinion, they're harder to find. Try and find a complete collection of 4-star versus a complete collection of Hasbro Transform. You'll probably pay more for Transform, but you're gonna have a harder time finding the 4-star stuff. It's they break. They were thrown away. They're knockoffs. No one cares. But in my research, I found that they are way more difficult. And then you find out that there's variations because they didn't care. They weren't trying to match this up to a cartoon or a comic. They were just pumping it out. So there's new stuff popping up all the time,
It's very true.
which makes it harder to collect. Oh yeah, the winged dragon.
Sludge got the dragon treatment. They gave
Do
him
you have,
kind of a.
do you have the six-legged one also?
I will look that one up soon. Um,
Oh my gosh.
but they gave him wings, which basically looked like the wings off of Swoop, kind of,
Then they gave him a bird head.
which was kind of like Swoop's head almost. Um,
Yep.
It did open and close. The mouth does open and close. He does get his normal weapons though.
They were
And
similar.
very similar. I think the missile launcher was different. His normal
Well, the
rifle
gun was
looked.
definitely the gun. The rifle was like a bloated version, so it didn't have all the details that Hasbro had. It was kind of just kind of like when you have bread in the oven and it's not quite cooked. That's kind of what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just wasn't done. But then this one also came in the G1 Transformers colors too.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing him at one time like that.
Yeah, it came in both colors.
Just because we're over here real quick. Another one that I've
Oh
seen.
my gosh.
This is not even a 4-star, and this is a knockoff of a 4-star. Christmas colors. There's a good look of him.
Well, it was Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
Yep. Jurassic Park.
Yep.
600
But they took the time to put the little chrome details in it.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them. You're getting bang for your buck here, baby.
Yep. Let's see if I can find that.
The other thing is that one, because if you scroll up, you'll see that that's got a yellow chest.
Yeah, the prehistory one.
Yellow, blue, and red.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 different chests for this thing.
Wasn't it that way across the board with all of them?
It was a pain in the butt. Like I said, you want to try and get them all? Good luck. Pain in the butt.
See if I can find the 6-legged one.
Yeah, the 6-legged one was really stupid. I never could understand that.
Thought I had a picture of it earlier. I saw, but
Well, until he gets a picture. Basically, what it was, you have the lower half where that would flip out. You would take the tail, split it apart, and flip that out. Right in front of where the tail would flip apart, you'd have these 2 little legs. They looked like little kickstands for a bike. And that made him a 6-legged dinosaur. Why? I have no idea. But that one did not come with wings. So basically it was a straight knockoff of Sludge. But then it had 2 extra legs. So, why not?
I'm still. Why is it so hard to find this silly thing? Because Google is not my friend.
Rare. It's rare.
It is rare. It really is a rare one.
It's dumb. It's rare.
But we like dumb and rare on this show.
Seems like it.
Yeah, we do. But dumb and rare is, hey, I think I found him. Maybe. I've got a picture here, but it won't let me pick. Why does it keep sending me that?
I don't know.
Because people's links are broken. I kind of have a photo. It's very small, though. This one right here with the orange head. Right here, you can see his, other leg. And then we got alligator snarl here.
That was the hardest one for me to find. Believe it or not.
Alligator snarl?
Yeah, because if you look, the tail was redesigned.
Yeah,
the wing portion was redesigned. The head was redesigned.
It looks like a Spinosaurus almost.
It was dumb. And that one actually is missing the back piece.
Yeah, that particular one, this one is, the one here in the package isn't.
Yeah.
But
right. So it literally had the spines going from the front to the back all the way. Yeah.
It's like they
really
just... They never did do Swoop, though, did they? I don't think they ever touched Swoop.
No. No. But the fun thing about that one is that there's 2 little hinges that hold that back piece that's missing on the other photo. Yes. Mm-hmm. That piece. That they made it in such cheap plastic they always broke. Or missing. I have seen more of that one than I have the complete one.
And here's the other ones. I think you were talking about the one in G1 colors. This has
Yeah,
actually got the sixth leg hanging off his butt.
correct. And then the slag to the left there, if you look, the middle portion is gray.
Mm-hmm.
It also came in bronze. So there were two versions of that one.
Yeah, Dinobots are nuts.
Everything else was the same. Everything else was the same, but they changed that. And it's like, all right, now I got to find two of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it knockoff stuff in the 80s is extremely hard to find.
It really is now. Now, considering how everybody has already, I don't know, it seems like everybody's kind of got the stuff that they want. So now when you're trying to find this stuff, you're always finding like bits and pieces of one, never really finding a full one. You could buy several and build a new one.
Right. Here's the problem I'm running into. And it's weird for me. Because I mean, it's 45. Okay. And I spent a lot of time collecting all this stuff, documenting it, and trying to get this information out. And if I have something extra, I'll throw it up. And no one's interested. And I'm sorry, but call me jaded, but I'm sorry, but you know, a 1980s knockoff slag in a certain variant color, I think is worth X amount of dollars. And unless you find that one person that really knows, that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
Buys it, you're not going to get the money that it's worth. And I'm sorry, but yes, every single thing in your collection has a dollar amount. It just does. I don't care if you bought it sentimental reason. I don't care if you bought it because you thought it was cool. There's a dollar amount. And when it comes to knockoffs, you gotta find the people that really know what you have and how rare it is before you'll get that what it's worth price.
It's very, very, very true.
And it's frustrating.
It is.
Did I buy these in the intent of making? No. I wanted to see how much of the stuff I could get when I learned about it. And I didn't learn about it until after 2000. So I'm already 20 years behind.
Well, like back...
But it was very hard to get what I have. And people just don't know how rare it is.
Well, back when we were collecting during like the 90s, if you didn't go to like flea markets, sometimes like comic conventions, comic stores, stuff like that, you didn't really ever find this really weird stuff until you like came upon it, because a lot of it wasn't documented in magazines. A lot of it wasn't like, you know, it really wasn't a thing. And then the 2000s hit, and then all of a sudden you got this huge influx on eBay of like really weird knockoff Transformers. My mind was blown by how many weird KO combiners there were alone. Let alone...
a couple things. In 98, 99, 2000, we had this blown up thing called the internet. Okay? It was around before that, but for me, that's when... Guys, I'm sorry, I'm in Kentucky. We're 5 years behind everything. So that's when it hit me. And I started looking and seeing that there was more out there. I went to my first Transformers show in 2000, BotCon 2000. I walked into the dealer room and I'm like, what is this? oh, that's such and such. It was only released in Europe. Like, what do you mean? I never saw that. Well, that's because it was in Europe only. Okay. I walked to another booth. What is that? Oh, that was only released in Japan. Um, I never heard of it. So it just blew my mind that there was so much more out there. I didn't know about Daikon. I didn't know about Japanese. I didn't know about European until 2000. In that dealer room, and I've tried many, many years to get that same experience I had there. I can't. My mind was blown. It
Mhm.
was just, I had my own little world. This is what I know. This is what's available. No, dude. There's so much more. So much. Characters that never made it. Why? I don't know. I never saw them, but they're there. It's a real thing.
Well, it's kind of like what's currently hypothetically. I listened to a kind of a podcast thing earlier this week talking about hypothetical things dealing with toys we didn't get in the United States. So think about what happened toward the tail end of the 80s with Transformers. Kind of just died. Europe and Japan kept getting stuff. Even clear into the 90s, before we even got Generation 2, they were still getting stuff.
That's what I called it 1.5, but yes.
Yeah, the reason behind all that was the fact that apparently Hasbro saw such a drop in numbers in the United States, they said, nope, we're not going to no longer sell in the United States, we'll just sell elsewhere. And trying to bring that into more of the modern sense, I don't like to get into politics or anything here, but people are guessing we're probably going to end up seeing a very, very, very close situation that happened during the early 90s and late 80s with Transformers. Just that brand in general. I'm not talking every brand, just saying them just in general because of right now they've got that that Zoids Transformer Diaclone crossover guy that came out. I just saw they did a thing for pre-order. You have to just give them $10 to pre-order it. But it says the amount is yet to be announced, which tells me prices are in limbo right now. So,
well, no one knows what's going to happen with. I don't know. We said many times we don't talk about it.
Right. I'm but just saying hypothetically.
There are costs. I'm not going to say the word. There are costs that no one knows about.
Yep.
So if you're pre-ordering something as a store, you can't really put out the price if you don't know what it's going to cost.
It's very true. And any of the people that are looking at your third party, which I consider third party their own thing now, although before I kind of thought of them as a knockoff kind of thing, but some of them are their own designs, but they are kind of IP hovering.
Well, I'm not going to go into that.
But,
all right.
But
my stance is I don't care for third party, right. But it's for a different reason, totally different reason.
And I understand that.
For the copyright infringement and all that. Look, man, I don't work for Hasbro. I don't care. I really don't. All right, that's your thing. If you want to seek litigation on that, do it on your own. I don't care. My problem is that I started picking up third party when they first came out, and the quality was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. I would find myself constantly buying this third party stuff, and it was not to my expectation, whether it be tolerances, breakage, or whatever, and then I would go to get rid of it and I'd lose money. Sorry. If there's one thing in this world that I know it's math. I'm a big person about math. And if you pay X and you don't get X in return, you've made a bad investment. It's as simple as that. I'm not here to buy and flip. Mm-hmm. I do that, but that's not why I buy for myself. Right. I buy for enjoyment. and when I find out it doesn't meet my enjoyment and I sell it and I lose money, I don't like that product.
And
I'm sorry. It's simple, and it has made me stagnant on the whole third party thing because I've been burned too many times. Now, is the new stuff phenomenal? It might be. Guess what? I'm not going to risk my money on it.
no, I don't blame you.
That's my soapbox spiel on third party. It has nothing to do with copyright and spray. I don't care. It has to do with owner enjoyment and what you get out of it.
Hmm. I mean, it's like, take for instance with me. I have two third-party toys. One of them happens to be a knockoff of a third-party figure, and it's I would say, Legends scaled 6-shot. A friend of mine gave it to me. Fits in fine with my line. I don't have a 6-shot. That's perfect. I used to have G1 6-shot back in the day, but I never jumped on the bandwagon for, like, the newer figures and such. But since I decided to downscale, that guy fit in just fine. The other one I have is Glacial Lord. And Glacial Lord to me is a very, very well built piece of...
That one is a little different.
This is probably the one toy that is set apart of all third party, because this thing is literally backward compatible with all your Generation 1.
Well,
all your stuff really doesn't do that.
The big thing I like about that is they took an idea, they took an old design, and they didn't try and make it better.
Mm.
They just went, this will fit in with all your G1. And I have that one. And I don't do third party, but I have in my mind, well, I have 3, and then I have a straight up knockoff, which I'm totally against, but I have one. So I have Glacier Lord, I have the Chrome Dome that was done, and I have the hard head one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I found no flaws with it. Did they try and outdo the original? A little bit, but it worked. And I'm happy with it. And it's in the masterpiece size. It is fine. And do I think Takara is going to do the Headmasters? No. So they're mine. I'm good. The other one is yes, I am very, very guilty. I have a knockoff masterpiece Megatron. And I bought it for 2 reasons. One, the original Megatron was over $300. And at the time, that was ridiculous. And 2, this one was cheaper and came with more stuff. The battle damaged chest, the back piece that covered, all that. And I tried it, and guess what? It's pretty good. It's good enough to sit on my shelf. So, as much as I bash original designs of knockoffs, I don't like that. Like, if you tried to sell me a G1 boxed Jazz, or a G1 boxed, Wheeljack,
Mm-hmm.
but it's knockoff, I don't want it. But for this, I'm okay. So, I mean, that kind of makes me going back on what I said, but I can justify it.
I can see where you're coming from there. I don't think a lot of people understand what happens, like, when it comes to, like, you guys go on there and on like AliExpress and you find, oh, there's a whole Minosaur set here I can buy for like $89, right?
Yep.
It is a knockoff, but what people fail to realize is the molds, and the reason why the plastic quality is the way it is because they literally were the molds that were unaccounted for, I like to say, when Hasbro stopped manufacturing in those countries. Some of those
Or
molds were either stolen or sold to somebody, and they just decided to keep printing them out and selling them.
or they reverse engineer them.
Right. Nowadays with the 3D printing, 3D scanning, they can reverse engineer a lot easier. But back then, they had to have the actual mold itself. That's why
Right.
you've seen so many knockoffs of Devastator, so many knockoffs of bits and pieces of Minosaur and Computron, so many knockoffs of Defensor and Superion, because those were literally knocked off till they couldn't be knocked off anymore. And some
Yeah,
of them,
I
how they
found that the gift
downsized
set-
them, I don't know. But
yeah. I found that the gift sets are knocked off more frequently than anything.
yeah,
And they just are. And if that's what you bought, if that's what you knew you were getting, I have no problem with that. My problem is the people that are selling them, not saying they're knockoffs, trying to pass them off as original. That's the problem we have. That is why we have a website that is totally about telling the difference. That's all they do. This is the difference between the original and what's coming out. It's not because we want to make sure you know. No, it's because we want to make sure you know so you don't get scammed.
because
And
G1
that,
Optimus Prime has been knocked off a ton of times too. He's been done in black. He's
oh
been
my
in
gosh,
translucent.
absolutely. And then any e-hobby has been knocked off.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I'm glad that there's websites out there to help kind of correct that, especially for those guys that go out there and say they go on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or whatever and they buy it. And they get hold of it and just something doesn't feel right, something feels off. Gives them a chance to pop on there to find out, especially say the Constructicons. Constructicons is probably the hardest out of all of them because how many times have been knocked off? Whether they're the true authentic ones, are they a European reissue, are they a knockoff of this knockoff of this knockoff, or whatever, because they have been probably the most knocked off Transformer ever, really, has been Devastator. I think that's why his namesake has been like so ingrained almost into everybody's pop culture at this point. Because everybody remembers the green construction robot dude. Whether they remember his name or not, they've probably played with it. Whether it's authentic or the Easter back one they used to have in the 2000s. You know. Shampoo quality.
Yeah, not really sure how to go with this. Um, Here's how I look at it for Devastator. Um, in the U.S., he was the first. He's the first time where you had these transforming robots would combine. So, all right, special place in my heart. I get that. A lot of people know him.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a knockoff company, why not make a knockoff of the most recognizable for our focus group? And just every color, everything we can do. And that's why it went that way.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that. It literally was, it really was a smash and grab. That's what it comes down to. We're going to throw it out and make our money.
And
That's what knockoffs do, but that's also how a company makes money. I get it.
I'm even guilty when it comes to the fact of having several versions of AKO Devastator, because my G1 was authentic. Both of my G2s, my orange and my yellow one, were authentic. I did have a Diaclone one, but then I had a multicolored one that I want to say was maybe like a Big Lots thing or something like that, where they actually still had die-cast parts in it. Um, that was obviously a knockoff. And then I had handled like the green knockoff one. I handled the yellow knockoff one. I did have an upgrade kit for one of them. I did. Devastator is probably one of the toys I've played with probably the most out of all knockoffs, and it's kind of crazy because I don't know. It's one of those things. Like when it comes to KOs, I tend to look at those as like those are really really good for customizers. You know, like
Oh no, I get that. That's fine. But I'm trying to think in my head. What other toy has gotten 3 color variation in G1 and G2? 3, not 2, 3.
well, we had Defensor would have had 3 different.
Defensor in G1? No.
No. Defensor only had 2 different ones because you had the Guy Guardian.
No. No. That was Japanese only. I'm talking about
Just
US.
US release.
Just US.
Devastator's the only one that I think that they got 3 different colors.
Okay. Let's just take into account the Stunticons and Defensor. They got 2. They just weren't released.
Yeah, the unreleased G2 colored ones, yes.
Correct. But Devastator got 3. 3. Green. Orange for KB Toy. And then yellow.
Mm-hmm.
3. So you're like, all right, the palette is there. There's 3 different variations we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and pump them out. And then in it was about 2010 or so, they knocked off a white one and a black one.
Yep.
All white. It might have been 2010, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
they did a black one and a white one. Those 2 I never had my hands on.
I never did either, so I don't know the quality. But you see what I'm saying? They just pumped them out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, what else can you relate that to? Bumblebee. About the same time, all of a sudden, a Bumblebee, which came in yellow or red, wasn't supposed to be, but it did.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, we got a white one. We got a black one. We got a blue one. Throw them out there.
There was a green one too.
No, the green one was
That was Argentina, wasn't it?
No, well, yes, yeah. I'm not counting those. I'm talking about the straight knockoffs that came from Hasbro,
Mm-hmm.
and they did 3. You know, they did the white, they did the black, and they did the blue. And people bought them.
Just seems like any mold that they ever put out with Generation 1, they could have just put any color and people would have bought every one of them. Because
Let me ask you this: if they took if they they do a knockoff of Wheeljack, it's documented.
Mm-hmm.
If they did that in the Marlboro colors, would you buy it?
Yeah, because it's an homage to the Diaclone.
I definitely would. Absolutely.
Give me a slicer colored one, I'll take that one too.
Yeah, yeah. And
Actually,
you're like,
you take
but
that Lancia
you
and paint
don't
it.
like knockoffs that are direct. I'm like, you're right.
I'm the weirdo that's like,
Then why would you buy that? And I'd say because I'm not going to get it any other way.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $3,000-$4,000 for a Marlboro Wheeljack. I can't.
No. And the fact that they never really released him in the Action Master colors, that would have been cool. And then again, I'm also one of those kind of people, I'm like, you know what, you can paint that thing to look like freaking Rainbow Bright, and I'd still probably buy it because I love that mold.
It's funny because I had said for years that I always thought that the Action Master line should have been expanded, and it wouldn't be too hard to take a basic design and make the other bots. And what happens? Blockies. And what are they doing? Oh, they're selling like hotcakes.
They're action
What are they?
masters.
They're action masters. Exactly.
So everybody out there that's complained about action masters back in the day, sorry, stop complaining. Like you're
I
literally
get it.
buying action masters.
Because your butts are buying them. Simple as that.
Yeah. But I actually think it's very cool. I mean, I personally would love to see that line continue and create even more. Like, I would like to see them go in and do like every color variation of everything.
Would you like a little insider information?
Sure, go right ahead.
It's actually very easy. They're going to continue. It's going to happen. Think about your most obscure character. Guess what? They're hitting it. And what are you adding with that? All right. This is the simplicity of an idea. Action Masters. All right. Not everyone likes that. Do you like putting models together? Yep. Well, we got them. Do you like Legos? Yep. We got them. You've just hit 3 cultures with one product.
Yep.
And then you can just repaint, redesign, and make any character you want. I don't have to figure out the way it transforms. It doesn't. I don't have to figure out the logistics of how it looks. It has one. I mean,
Yep.
it's actually pretty smart.
I've seen some people already doing kit bashing with these things. It's insane what you're able to do with these. And the fact that the
Yeah.
price point is cheap,
Yes.
these are so affordable and easy for everybody to get a hold of. They're not huge. I personally want to try to get chased down the smallest ones are the ones I want because I love the size of them. I think they're great.
Obviously, they got a little feedback, and that's why they do what are they called, deluxes?
Mm-hmm.
They have the bigger ones. Now, I guarantee, mark my words, this is time stamped right now, that at some point people are going to say, these aren't like the toys I grew up with. And they will make them toy accurate, not cartoon.
Yep.
And it'll happen. And guess what? They will sell. 99% of the people that collect Transformers, they're in one mode. Period. They don't touch them.
Yeah, they don't usually mess with them.
Whether or not they transform it, they look good, you'll buy it.
And some people will spend time playing with some particular Transformers that they have on the shelves, but not everybody's going and pulling a Scorponok off the shelf and transforming it left and right. Most of the time they just leave it staying in the back. The ones they'll normally pick up will be like, like a little Micromasters. This is a knockoff, by the way, but just little Micromasters. Micromasters are fun to just fiddle back and forth. But for the most part, most people aren't going and grabbing their, combiners off the shelf and then pull them apart and put them back together like 20 times because they don't want to break any of the joints, So with the blockies, this gives them another opportunity to build an articulated robot that you can do anything you want, which is really cool. And seeing a lot of kit bashing, the stuff that people are able to do with these, I think it's a really, really cool idea. I did hear that the Devastator combination set for the blocky set that's come out, since it's a Chinese company, they can't actually sell that combination thing on the shelf here in America because of copyrights. But
Really?
you'll be able to order it online in order to get it. Yeah, you'll actually have to import that.
That was literally, I was given a blocky, and I don't really, it's cool, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It was grapple. Sorry, just not a fan. Whatever. But when I saw the Constructicons and the fact that they combined, I really thought that was a really, really good idea. And so you're telling me that the combiner parts are not going to be included in the U.S.?
Nope. It's a whole other kit that you're supposed to buy to combine them that will not be sold here in the United States. You're actually going to have to import it.
I'll buy it.
Yeah.
That thing looks amazing. I know it's the blocky, scrunchy looking thing,
It's
but
the
the
chibi
combined
look that they call it.
it looks good.
It's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people have actually started jumping on the boat with the smaller blockies, because you're able to build a Devastator that'll kind of be in scale with them, but isn't huge. And I think that Devastator is about the size as a G1 Devastator. Maybe a little shorter, but not by
It
much.
it from what I saw, it looks good, size wise and everything.
And I think it's amazing. I think it's great toy kits for everybody of every age to get into, because they're even doing Sesame Street stuff. Like they're hitting all the hard hitting things with this company, and I
Well,
want to
I
see it
mean,
continue really with
I do,
everything.
but here's the thing. So, Mike Boyle just commented. He said that it's satisfying click of building blockies that adds to the model appeal of Lego. That's exactly right. I remember as a kid, you would see a Lego set, and it really wasn't the finished design that you wanted. It was the fun of building it. And I had actually just, about a year or so ago, I did the Lego Star Wars Jabba sail bar. And I could have spent two all-nighters and built it, because trust me, it's a lot. I broke that up with my weekends, and I did that in 3 weeks. I would get off work, do whatever, come home, relax, and I would start building it.
Hmm.
And actually, after it was done, I was sad because I didn't have that build to do it. It was done. Um, so for these being so cheap as they are, having that fun, you know, you buy some, wait for your day off, you want to relax, you sit down, you know, pop in an album you like, whatever, bam, knock it out, you get it done. But it's the satisfaction of building it,
Hmm.
and I think that draws a really, really big. And it could be Gundam, same thing. Lego,
Yep.
same thing. You have this appeal for that creative aspect,
I
and
brought them in.
I think they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, like I said, I haven't pulled the trigger on any blockies yet because I really haven't. I don't really personally have space for them right now. But I have been like on the edge of wanting to get some because I love building model kits. I've built Lego ever since I was a kid, and it's just the fact of what could I do with, you know, blockies? Like, how could I use blockies? You know, and I don't know, Proto Man just popped in and out. I don't know what happened there.
I didn't happen to laugh, but
Yeah, that happened last time he tried to pop in.
so one other thing I wanted to say was, um, the other thing that's neat is, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm getting older. It's harder for me. Like Gundam kits, I can't really do them. They're too small and everything. Legos, yeah, I can still do this. Blockies are that certain size that I can still do that, and I love that.
Yeah,
And you still get that creative, I made this accomplishment, and ultimately you end up with, I'm sorry, but you end up with an Action Master that has more articulation than any other Action Master I ever had. I love it.
and the fact that like, if you get hold of Inferno in his vehicle mode, and you get hold of Inferno, the small one, the gun that comes off of his vehicle mode actually plugs onto Inferno, and you can use his gun hand. So there's a play pattern there, not just a model kit. And like I was saying,
Yeah.
the customization is just out of this world with these
Well,
things.
there's so many possibilities. I mean,
We talking blockies here?
Yeah,
blockies.
blockies.
You can take any character in the Transformer fandom and put it in blocky form. Any of them. I mean, scale. I mean, come on. We didn't do that with Action Masters. It just had to do with having it, the fun, and I dig that.
Yeah,
What I think's really good about blockies also is that it's manufactured and engineered in China. Like the whole process from front to back, it's planned in China, it's manufactured in China, and it's shipped out of China. And because of those three elements that are present there, all they have to worry about is the licensing part, and that's why they're also extremely affordable. Depending on where you order it from, you could easily get a case of 9 blockies for like $40 in some cases, and that comes to like almost like $2 a unit, $3 a unit, depending. You know, it's pretty crazy how it gets, and I mean, I think they're amazing.
Yeah, now, Proto Man, correct me if I'm wrong, because I was telling Brett about this, and it's something I heard on a podcast.
Shoot.
The bits and pieces to make Devastator as a separate kit.
Okay, so here's the story with that.
From what I hear in the States, we have to import it. It won't be sold here like
Okay,
retail,
so here's the whole skinny and even where you could get it as an American. So first off, here's what's happening with that. So when Blockies signed the licensing agreement with Hasbro, there obviously is a few caveats when it comes to making those products. What happens is with licensing is whenever you make figures from a company that also makes figures, you have to have something written in that contractual agreement that separates it from the actual units. To just kind of deviate for a moment, did you know every single Funko Pop that is a Marvel character has a bobblehead?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to every other Funko Pop that's just a articulated head. And the reason why they do that was because Hasbro put in their licensing agreement with Funko, hey, you could do Marvel characters, but because we do action figures that are articulated, yours have to have bobbleheads. So if you buy a Transformer Funko Pop, it's totally fine. But if you buy like a Wolverine Funko Pop, it has a bobblehead on it, like a little spring. For people who aren't familiar with what bobbleheads are, but so just to kind of deviate for that. So it's the same thing that happened here. Hasbro put in their contractual agreement, hey, look, I know you guys are working on a Devastator. We know you guys want to do that. What are we kind of doing right now with Studio Series 86? You know, so they don't want to have something that's competing currently with what they're working on. You understand? It's kind of like a conflict of interest. It's like, oh, hey, well, why get the Studio Series 86 Devastator when you could have this one? Now, granted, yes, when you go deeper into it, it's apples and oranges. I mean, they don't transform. It's not the same engineering. But from their perspective, it's like they don't want to have something that's kind of competing for the same item. Because let's be real, a lot of us who get complete Devastators are probably just going to have it in Devastator mode and leave it like that anyways, you know? So, I mean, I'm guilty of that. My Combiner Wars one, you know, I think I transformed it once and then it just kind of sat there. So that's kind of what happened. Now, how do you get it, right? So what they did to circumvent that is when you buy the Galaxy Defenders blocky set that has the final Devastator pieces, I believe it's Wave 3. It's Wave 3, I think. Each one of those are going to come with a trading card. On the back of that trading card is going to be a QR code. Now, if you have a phone that has a licensed Chinese phone number, you are able to download the Blocky Club app. And then with that Blocky Club app, you scan those QR codes that kind of like a proof of purchase, for lack of better words. It proves that you have those Devastator pieces, which then qualifies you to be able to then purchase through the Club app this Devastator kit. Now, that being said, there's plenty of people in China that went, hey, here's money on the table that we can make to sell to Americans. So if you go to, and I'm not sponsored, this isn't me plugging anybody, but I saw that Show Z, which is one of these guys that sell, they have a whole bunch of people that are working on getting as many of these kits as possible to sell to Americans through their website. The pre-order is up right now. So, and it's the same thing. There's another item that has the same hoop jumping process, with blockies, Wave 8 of the traditional Galaxy version blockies, which is the Transformers 1 collection, Wave 2, to get the silver tracker. The trackers are those guys that, the little army builders for Sentinel Prime.
Yeah.
The silver tracker is a Blocky Club exclusive, exact same thing. If you buy the whole second wave of Transformer 1 blockies and you scan all the QR codes in your Blocky Club app, you qualify to then get the silver tracker.
Interesting.
So, which again, there's obviously Chinese people going like, hey, these QR codes are not unique to the trading cards. That means we could technically buy as many as we want if we just scan them. Make a whole bunch of different separate accounts and then just milk this and then sell it to a bunch of Americans that are willing to pay more than MSRP. Money on the table.
So my question is if in the U.S. and Canada, if you wanted to get this set, what would be the easiest, cheapest way to do it?
Probably if you don't have someone who lives in China, that like literally you could just take pictures. Like, let's say you own that set of Galaxy Defenders or whatever, and you have those Devastator pieces already.
You could sell the QR code.
You could literally take a photo of the QR codes and send it to your friend in China and go, hey, could you just jump through these loopholes for me? Even if it's someone who's not even part of this world, of this Transformer world. You know what I mean? Just go like, hey, you have a cell phone in China, right? Yeah, well, obviously. Could you just like join this app and then just scan these codes that I'm going to send to you and then just buy it and then just send it to me, by boat for like $4, and that's what I would say is the cheapest way. The second would be, again, Show Z looks like they're kind of working on it because from their perspective, they're like, hey, there's money to be made here. It's kind of look like any of us who went to BotCon back in the day. Hey, if there's something here we could pick up and flip, you'd be stupid not to.
I don't know what you're talking about. But
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But that's what I'm trying to say. So it's like, that's kind of the skinny on that. I think that was all.
I kind of feel jilted on that.
It's just because of, again, it's
I know. Trust me, with the way the world is now, I get that portion, but. And we're going to get hit with it, and you know what I'm talking about. As a collector, I kind of feel like, I don't know if the U.S. is a big provider for Hasbro and Takara, but I think we're big enough that, why would you make us jump through all these hoops? And I get that we have, Sterner LPs, and we have Sterner, the other thing we're talking about.
Copyrights. Well, to China's credit, though, I will give them this. I actually had this discussion yesterday, which is for the longest time, China was the Wild West. Bootlegs were rampant. Like things would just get away with stuff very easily, and
that goes into our topic, which is good.
And Hasbro would suffer for it a lot, especially from the third party nature. But once Hasbro started really building a good relationship with China and opening up the first Weibo and Baidu office in China, they started to crack down on third-party companies. I could actually show quite a few articles of them like going to different places and just cracking down on them. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of other companies that are still flourishing and surviving. And not to mention, again, if they just move to Vietnam, it's all back to square one again because it's a whole different jurisdiction.
Correct.
But China's getting better with that. But yeah, they're also, again, it's still a gray area when it comes to that country and IP theft and copyright theft. It's just how it is. Even countries that have a lot of respect, like South Korea. Everyone loves South Korea. Oh, K-pop and all of this. They have some of the worst like copyright and IP theft laws over there ever. Like you could literally like take the entire Mario soundtrack and footage and everything and use that on your TV shows and you don't have to pay anybody. It's pretty wild over there too. To be real, again, I don't want to deviate, but short little story, like everyone knows Haim Saban, the guy who was behind Power Rangers and stuff, Do you know how he became rich before he even did Power Rangers? he was a musical licenser, and what he would do is he would go into countries that didn't have IP, laws, and then he would sell world-renowned artists, and he would just print those CDs. So to give an example, he'll go to X country and go, oh, they don't have IP laws. Hey, I'm going to bootleg millions of copies of Thriller. This is like the 80s, obviously, and Michael Jackson's like the most famous person of all time, especially back then. And he would just sell it indiscriminately. And no one could sue him because he's in a region that doesn't exist. And he did that for years before he ever did Power Rangers, And that's how he pretty much ended up in Japan and saw Power Rangers to begin with, because he was just going around looking for, oh, what could I get away with? And that's kind of how that all works. And Hasbro has been trying to really build this strong relationship with China. And to be honest, one big reality of it is when you're a company and you're kind of looking at the next 5, 10, 15 years, and you're looking at, shrinking toy sales and shrinking markets in America. I don't even count Canada because our population is so non-existent. I mean, ignore the size of us. We're nothing in terms of population, and then half of it, a good chunk of it in places like Montreal and Quebec, half of them spoke French. So they don't even have a connection to half of this stuff anyway. So it's really an American thing. And it's something where you go, if it's something I see firsthand where it's like, okay, the kids who grew up with like the 2007 and Revenge of the Fallen Michael Bay movies, are they going to be like the last bastion of hardcore Transformer collectors before we run out of the nostalgia drip feed? And what I mean by that is like, how many, there was millions of kids that probably saw those Michael Bay movies. But how many millions of kids watched, like, let's say, Earthspark or Transformers 1 that had record low ratings in movie ticket sales, even though it's one of the greatest Transformer movies of all time? It's like, let's just be real in terms of the money in the mouth here. And it's something where once we, and keep in mind, those kids that were like, let's say 5 when the Michael Bay movies came out, they're in their 20s now, so they're a buying market. But once those guys age out, what is left? What is really left in terms of nostalgia and the buying market? And I've had this discussion with Aaron Archer. I've always said, like, one day, as scary as this sounds, we might end up like IPs like Flash Gordon or Dick Tracy or the Phantom, certain IPs that at one time they had a great heyday. They had a few different revival attempts, but at the end of the day, they just can't survive in the modern era because something like a Minecraft or something like a Fortnite or whatever is the new hotness with kids, and that changes all the time, and it's just a reality of life. I mean, I think we got very lucky in that if you were an 80s kid or even like an early 90s kid, a lot of your IPs have survived and lingered over and proliferated over the last, dare I say, 40 years, which is quite remarkable considering that if you think about what was hot in the 70s, with the exception of Star Wars and the tail end of it and Star Trek, everything else in the 70s didn't come out alive. Everything that came out of the 60s didn't come out alive, unless you want to count comic book stuff with X-Men. But in terms of television, like, where's my new Dennis the Menace reboot? Where's my new, like, all of those IPs.
Buck Rogers.
And Popeye, and like, you could keep going back. All of those are dead on the vine, but yet somehow we just managed to just keep it going for these past 40 years. But we might be reaching the end of it in a lot of ways. And I don't want to sound like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, but it's just, you have to just kind of look at the numbers and go, all right, when it's going to be like, let's say 2040, right? What kids that are now going to be 20 and 2040, what did they grow up on? What are they going to be the 5-year-olds that have nostalgia of? Because no one showed up to Transformers 1. Transformers Earthspark is canceled. I don't care what anyone says. That show is done. No one watched Transformers Bots. That had a terrible marketing and planning. The toys came out 3 years before the show did. And then when the show came out on Netflix, there's no toys to be found on the shelves. Brilliant. Just genius on that one. So it's you just end up with this situation. And then you look on the Japanese side, we have Wild King right now. And the way that they're marketing that is little 5-minute YouTube segments. And the problem with having 5-minute YouTube segments, one day they're going to delete those YouTube segments and it's going to be lost media and it's going to act like it never existed. And a short toy line that doesn't have anything to back it, really. No comic book. So I've said this before, right now, the era we're in right now in Transformers is the late stage G2 era. Like, we're living in that world right now where it's like, we kind of have a show, but we don't, which was the G2 show. We kind of have a manga, or in this case, a comic book, which is the Skybound book, which is, again, the G2 book was great. It's Simon Furman, it's Andrew Wildman, it's, oh my God, it's some of the greats of the greats. But we just have a comic, kind of a show, and a bunch of pretty good toys. But at the end of the day, was late G2, 94, 95 healthy for the Transformer brand? It really wasn't. You know, it was in a very bad place despite those same things. And you look at what's happening right now. We have no new episodes of anything on the air. Again, Earthspark is in limbo. We have those 5-minute segments, which again, it's like half of a show. I don't even call it a show, of the Transformers Wild King stuff. Great stuff for 5 minutes, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's just a YouTube segment. And right now, a spectacular toy line that's getting tons of support and everything from the fans. But look at everything that those toy lines are and what they represent. No one is knocking each other over for characters that are based off of stuff that happened in the past 5 months or 5 years. Everyone's like, hey, aren't you excited about the latest studio series thing that's based off of a character that came out 35 years ago? Aren't you excited about the latest Age of the Primes thing that's based off of a character or concept that came 35 to 40 years ago? Like, even our Titan that's coming out, Star Convoy, again, a 1989 to 1990 product. So it's like we're in this world right now where you can't keep the brand alive if the only thing people are excited about is old stuff, because that means you're putting all your weight and your marketing into product that's based in a demographic that's also going to age out. Remember in 2007 when we were just knocking each other over to get the latest movie toys or the latest animated toys or the latest Transformers Prime toys? And yet today, no one's knocking each other over to get the latest Earthspark toys. No one's excited to get the latest BotBot toys. No one's excited to get in. But oh my God, there's the latest Legacy based off of character that came out 25 years ago figure. I'm excited about that. And then you look at even the side product items, the Swapticons and all those weird things that they're doing. But think about those.
I don't know, those little wannabe quad flying Bumblebee and
yeah, but
Optimus
think about even those
walkie-talkies.
You think about all of those. All of those are based off of which characters? Again, characters that came out 35 to 40 years ago. You can't celebrate and build a brand off of something that's so old. You can't sell people Darth Vader forever. Sooner or later, you've tapped the well, and then people don't care anymore. That's why, again, people are going like, oh my God, Star Wars is dying. It's not that it's dying. It's that it's reached its limit now of guys our age that could be nostalgic about it, and a lot of kids didn't grow up with it. Look, all those kids that grew up with the sequel movies with Rey and everything, they didn't care. They weren't engaged, so they don't have nostalgia for it. To them, it's like, imagine like what are your nostalgic feelings, you or like Plasticon or Megamus? What were your nostalgic feelings for the Dick Tracy 90s movie? It was there and then it wasn't. Exactly.
It was okay. I think I have more nostalgia for the video games than anything.
Yeah, for the Nintendo one.
Yeah.
but that's what I'm trying to say is that it's.
It's
Are you
okay.
gonna say something? No, you're gonna say something.
Yeah, I am. So,
Sorry, I went on a rant.
That's okay. As someone that has kids, and yes, grandkids, I see certain traits move down. Okay, so and that includes like things you like, things you remember as a kid. Grandpa remembers going to school uphill both ways in snow, and it doesn't matter. The point is that even grandkids are going to remember what you're talking about. They're going to look into these things. If they have an interest in toys, they're going to push back to that. So do I think that like the '70s Star Wars is going to go away? No, no, it's too strong. All right,
They're strong legacy evergreen brands, and
they are.
they'll always
Buck
exist.
Rogers. Buck Rogers. I remember that as a kid. Is
Yeah.
that a strong brand? No.
No. It's again,
No,
it's not the 1960s anymore.
No.
Right. But my point is that do I think Star Wars, Star Trek, Transformers is going to go away? No. It's going to evolve. Now the problem is that in my opinion, it's just mine. Star Wars has gone way off brand, and they're getting a backlash.
100%. I agree
Star
with you.
Trek has kind of kept the road, and they started going off, and they're getting a backlash. Transformers has really just gone off road, and we're getting a backlash. We got a backlash way back at the first Bay movie, because the designs were so different, the idea, the concept, and people weren't ready for it. I guess what I'm saying is that you're going to have these highs, and I 100% remember that Beast Wars was met with very negative response, very, and immediately at the same time they did Machine Wars. Well, they don't like, animals. We're going to give them cars again. And they hated that. But we survived it.
Well, I'll just to jump in there. So, negative response and criticism don't matter in the face of the monetary numbers. So, to go to a couple points there that you brought up.
Well, let me.
Okay, finish your point, and then I'll get into it.
100% on this. If you're not spending the money, they're not getting the profit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I do not like something, like when Beast Wars, and by the way, I love Beast Wars. When it first came out, I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. I did not spend a dime on any of it. Now, this you're going to say just one person, but I'm not in the minority here. It happened. So they saw a dip, and they panicked. Transformers 1, fast forwarding to close to the future here, where we're at. It wasn't really received well. It didn't do very well. But they went ahead and made toys, and I think people are speaking with their purse or their wallet. I think that's what Hasbro and any other corporation wants to do. I mean, the bottom dollar is crap. What we're selling, we got to make money. That's what it is.
Well, with Transformers 1,
yeah,
I think the reason Transformers 1 did not do well was that very first trailer they dropped. It was not received very well. Everybody it's that whole, okay, let me taste your food, like you go into a restaurant that's supposed to be great, and you have that one meal, and it ruins the reputation, and nobody ever comes back again. That's kind of what happened with that situation, plus poor advertising. I think it was both.
There was a few factors that hurt the ticket sales and interest in that movie. Yeah. I just want to go to the beginning of what Megamus was talking about.
Please.
So in the case of Beast Wars, you're coming off of, again, the low sales of 1995 with Generation 2, a dip in Transformers interest, and then you have MCM, which was McDonald's marketing company, talking with Hasbro and as amazing as this is going to sound, for the very first time they're going to do a nationwide Transformers McDonald's promo, not counting the St. Louis G1 stuff, which was just limited to St. Louis.
St. Louis.
And they were shown a whole bunch of concepts and everything, and then McDonald's was like, hey, we like these Beast ones that you suggested, because there's these great documentation of this. They were like showing like space shuttles and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, so technically, the very first engineered Beast Wars toys were actually from McDonald's, and that's why you have a manta ray that's Optimus Prime, a beetle
Right
that's Megatron, Rhino that's actually Ironhide, and a panther that's supposed to be Prowl. Now, granted, none of those names would be used ultimately in the end on these characters, but that's what they were intended to be. But Beast Wars was actually, as much as it was met with negativity from the online fandom and stuff, all of that didn't matter, because at the end of the day, the sales were extremely strong for Kenner. Extremely strong. And I don't even think it has to do so much with Beast Wars as that they had the, I don't want to say exclusivity, but the uniqueness at the time, because at the time there was only a handful of TV shows on the entire planet that were completely CG. You know, you had Reboot, you had Beast Wars, you had another show called Insectors, and you had the Toy Story movie. That was literally it in terms of like fully animated stuff like that. And Beast Wars came out in that unique style. And I stand on this. If Beast Wars was a 2D animated cell-based series like G.I. Joe Extreme and Ghostbusters Extreme, which were other shows that were also being worked on by Hasbro at the time to be those 90s reboots, I think Beast Wars would have not been successful. So it had that beautiful look to it, and the toys were ridiculously successful. Beast Wars in 1997 was the number one selling, I think it was 97 or 98, was the number one selling boys toys for that division. It beat the N64.
In 97 we had Transmetals, so
yeah, so that would be, it would, whatever was the season 2 year, so I believe it was 97.
97 was Transmetals, so it would have been 97, yes.
So, and it was, again, it beat out the N64 by a close margin and stuff like that. And at the time, Kenner, which was another brand that always did well for them every year, in 97, again, for years, Kenner's number one selling boy brand was Batman. But in 97, they had Batman and Robin, that movie. So it was a little bit of a rough year for them in 97, but Beast Wars came in and just crushed it, and they recognized that, and Beast Wars did extremely well. Again, and it did. Oh, I could show you the numbers. Like, that's the thing.
I get that, but I'm also saying around that time also is when they ceased to exist.
Well, there's a few things that happen. Kenner folds into Hasbro because they wanted to have a union of marketing, because at the time there was another big thing that was coming in just literally 2 years, which was Episode 1. So they wanted to avoid that confusion, because for years it was all on the Kenner side for the Star Wars products with Power of the Force and everything. And so they were going to do Episode 1, but they want to have the Hasbro logo on the card, so they folded the company in. They closed down the Cincinnati office of Kenner, and then now they use it as a storage facility still to this very day for Hasbro, and everyone has moved to the Rhode Island location. Again, these are all first-hand accounts from people you probably know who I talk to practically on a daily basis.
Well, so, I get it, but that's not exactly correct.
Which part are you saying is not correct?
So Kenner was bleeding money.
No, they didn't start losing money until around, I would have to say, the biggest folly for them was around the time of Episode 1, because they had very high hopes for the sales for, we call it the red carded items, which is,
no,
again,
I know what you're talking about, but as someone that lives in this area, who had a family member work for Kenner,
okay,
they were on a slow decline. They reached out to Hasbro to help them, and basically that is why they did the, if you remember, they did the Beast Wars by Kenner. Beast Wars by Kenner Hasbro.
Beast Wars
Hasbro Kenner.
Yeah.
And then Beast Wars by Hasbro.
Beast Wars was part of the Kenner emblem up until, I want to say, actually Transmetals and Transmetal 2s was when the Hasbro logo started showing up on it. Yeah. So,
excuse me. 95, it was Kenner.
Yeah, 100%.
Halfway through 95, it became Hasbro. I'm sorry, Kenner Hasbro.
Well,
and it quit. It kept switching. It's because they bailed them out. That's what it came down to.
Well, also because there was another thing that came up too, was because of the success of Beast Wars and it being a Transformers brand, the following year there was a certain other company that wanted to import those products and sell it in their region, and that was Japan. And you couldn't do that through Kenner; it had to be done through Hasbro. So folding it all onto the Hasbro side now, Hasbro, which already had at that point 15-year relationship with Takara, if not more,
Right.
they needed to have it be on that side of the branding, so that way then when they bring it over, that would be the case.
One of the things that I was told is that Kenner did deals with Takara. Hence your Star Wars Takara molds.
Yeah, the only because there's a few
it was never successful.
There was a few weird examples. If you know Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, a little bit of a weird one for people.
Yeah, I remember.
That was a Takara-based item, but when they brought it over, Hasbro didn't want to carry it. I think some other company ended up being the one who. I think it was it Playmates
Bandai.
or was it Bandai America that had it?
Bandai.
Okay,
it was Bandai.
So like again, like there's certain times where Takara, with their importing and exporting, they do different things. So it is a possibility when it comes to the Star Wars stuff, especially. You're probably right on that one, because I'm not too familiar with Star Wars's Japanese importing with Kenner.
Well, I just remember it was my dad worked there, and understanding what was going on and everything, it was really weird, because it really was just like yeah, we're gonna work on this line, the line you're talking about. We're not doing that. And then all of a sudden, that was a Hasbro thing, and it was it was kind of like it really was. They never said it, but like it didn't come down to the end. They were treading water, because at the very end, they literally told their employees, "We can't pay you. Take what you want, because it's right before Christmas. Take what you want. That is your severance package."
Well, I do know that, because Aaron himself, he attributes to why he moved up so quickly in the company, specifically on the Transformer side of thing, was because he was part. Like, if you asked him when he was at Kenner, when he first started there in like 93, 94, if you asked him, like, who is he, what is he known for? Like, what was his brand? He was the Batman guy. And he was put on all this Batman stuff. He did, Batman, the Dark Knight collection and all these things. And then what happened was he was brought onto the tail end of Beast Wars. He did a couple of monster stuff that he calls it a couple of monster stuff, which was Transmetal 2 stuff. He did the Beast Wars Dragon Megatron, the the Optimal Optimus he did with two other guys. And then when they were going to move everything to Rhode Island, there was guys who, again, that were with Kenner with that company for years that didn't want to move. And it was pretty much just a moving process along with folding the company in. And I'm trying to find right now, because I remember Aaron sent me a stock image, which was really cool. It showed me the stocks throughout the years of Hasbro Kenner. And what's cool about the stock image, like, it shows the up and down of the stocks, but it also shows key moments. Like, oh, this stock went up, what happened? Oh, we got Tonka, or like, oh, that stock went down, what happened? Like, oh, this like line didn't do well. I'm trying to find it. It was fascinating, and I don't think it's ever been public. I'm trying to see where it is. I'll send it to you guys, and it's really, really cool. But I know that, like, the Kenner one, it's weird to hear that you say that there was financial issues, because around that time you had the special editions of the Star Wars movies, and the Star Wars carded stuff was selling very well for them. It's just, you might be right in terms of the other brands, because I will say this, because Aaron has told me, like, Gargoyles, he was brought onto that got canceled very quickly. Steel, if anyone remembers that Shaquille O'Neal movie based.
I remember that.
There was a lot of smaller lines. There was Dragonheart. Remember that one with Draco?
Yeah.
Waterworld. Like, there was a Congo. I could. So I'm going into all these dud lines, but there was a lot of those, and those were in that mid to late 90 era. So there's a possibility. I just don't have the analytic numbers on those ones. I know that you did.
I'm not even going to go with all that. I'm just telling you from a personal perspective, with someone that worked there, I can tell you that there were, and of course, I mean, it's a business. there were deals being made months before anything happened. Of course, I mean you understand that.
100%.
And they saw the tracking going down. They saw, evidently, and I'm not really sure. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what made them get into the negative, but they could not dig themselves out. And at that point, they reached to Hasbro or Hasbro reached to them. I do not know. And a deal was made to basically, within 3 years, buy the company. And the main reason I know that is not only because of the packaging changed from, Kenner, Hasbro, Kenner, Hasbro, is the fact that there were people that I know that worked there when they closed it down said, go ahead and take product. We're not paying you your severance pay. That's it. And
I just to let you know, I posted in the general chat the stock history image. I found it.
Okay.
But you see what I'm saying?
It's a by the way, when you have time, it's a fascinating thing to look at. Like and again, because these individuals owned Hasbro stock, so they were sharing with me the ins and outs of what was going on. And it's very fascinating to see certain items and what did well for them and what didn't do well for them in certain dips. And they would always like, oh, here's the dip. What happened at that time? What went down? What went up? Certain speculation.
But understand what I just said. You can see why that would be. I mean, honestly, in this area, because I'm in the Cincinnati area, it really did upset a lot of people. A lot of people felt that the company just sold off and left all these people.
Well, yeah, that was again. Aaron attributes to a lot of people moving up in the Hasbro side of things, and by obviously being part of that company, because so many people didn't want to move to Rhode Island.
Right.
They spent their whole lives in Cincinnati, family, friends, and they weren't going to move to Rhode Island. But then here's Aaron, who was like 21, and had no girlfriend, no nothing. Is like, hey, let's rock and roll, let's go to Providence, let's go, So he didn't care.
Well, and the funny thing is, in the meanwhile, there's the receptionist at the front of Kenner who takes her station wagon, backs it up, and loads it up with vintage vintage Star Wars toys, because they said, take what you want. And that happened right before Christmas.
And hindsight, it's like, imagine if today, Hasbro said to you like, hey, we're closing up. You could have all of these vintage Earthspark figures, all you want, store display. And we go, oh, this is all garbage, and then who knows? And then 30 years, it ends up being extremely valuable, like Action Master Elite level carded value. Sure. Where you don't, back then, it's like, what the fuck, Action Master Elite? Who cares? Like,
yeah, but here's the funny part.
What's a double punch?
Here's the funny part. If you look at, and there's been some. I mean, in Kentucky, we had the coin find, Star Wars coin find. Okay, it's called the bucket. They've had the mask toy find. But I'm telling you, and it's happened several times. You get this. Oh yeah, I was laid off from Kenner, and I have this, and you find sealed boxes of Star Wars figures, sealed boxes of Millennium Falcon, whatever. It's crazy, but honestly, and people today don't understand that. It literally was of, look, I'm not going to pay you for your week's worth or your month's worth. Take what you want. And they took it. And they did nothing with it. So you get these, I call them barn finds, but whatever. That happens. And once again, we have gotten off topic.
Sorry.
Way off topic. That's okay.
So, to round it back around. So, what we were talking about was like 80s knockoff stuff. Not the, I'm trying to be like the G1 stuff. but just the weird stuff. Your 4-star, your
Off brand, yeah, off
Yeah,
brand.
yeah. And we're actually really running out of time, but I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite? What was the one that just you saw it and went, my God, that's so awful. I have to have it.
Brand? Who?
Just one particular figure, and then you can expand upon that with brand. How's that?
Well, there was. I mean, I got to give a shout out to Gen Zhao, who used to run knockofftoys.com. Doesn't exist anymore. He used to have some wacky ass shit. He had a transforming rice cooker. You have to understand, this is kind of an Asian household here. So to have a transforming, God, what's the brand that's so popular? It's not Toshiba. My wife's going to kill me. But it's like the popular Japanese brand. They made a transforming rice cooker. And it even has the spoon that you pick up the rice with. It transforms into a gun for the rice cooker. It's off the wall. Like, I remember when I saw that, I went, what the hell? You know? And a close second place, they did a basketball that transforms into Yao Ming. Because again, China, why not? You know, so it literally had Yao Ming's face on it, and it transformed into a basketball. Those are two I could think of, but there's so many more that are probably like escaping me right now. But again, shout out to Gen Zhao, because that website, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a riot during the early 2010s back in the day.
So we kind of went with the 80s. To
80s. Ooh,
I have one brand that is very close to my heart, and I'm kind of curious if you would hit it. So in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, knockoff brand, what would you say?
Well, you have the Zybots. That's one that comes to mind.
We talked about that.
That's like if you were a consumer's distributing kid. There it is. They were quite commonly displayed alongside the GoBots and stuff, as almost as if they were the same thing, because they kind of had a similar aesthetic, and I'm pretty sure consumers back in the day didn't know the difference.
Thank you. I said the same thing, but go ahead.
Well, because they have a similar. Because I guess I wouldn't be surprised, because Plex was the design group that did all the Machine Robo stuff back in the day, which would become GoBots, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of those Plex guys worked on Zybots. The vibe is so similar that it's just, there has to be some kind of bleed over there, and we don't know the names of those guys. It's not like with Transformers where Kojin Ono, Yuki Ashima, and all these other dudes, and Yoke-san, and Kuniharu-san, and all those dudes. But like clearly there was some bleed over there. There was, trying to remember the name of it. They called it Insectobots, but they had another name too. I'm trying to, because there's converters, obviously. That's another easy go-to. But Insectobots, they had another name in Japan. I'm just trying to remember, which is what it originated from, where those molds came from. But there's converters, of course. That's another popular one that they would use. Like, gosh, they used Dorvac molds. They used stuff from. They
used everything.
It was all kinds of. It's like they would take super robot designs, but they would shrink them down and then kind of pretend it was like sentient robot stuff, because they would Gladion. They used Zunga Bungle designs. I mean, there's so many of those that were under that converters license, and they had all those what we call the aviators, which were the birds, you know, which I don't know where those molds came from, and someone could correct me if I'm wrong, where like if they were original or not, but if they had an origin of like a show or something. But usually I would be on top of that. But I mean, there's a lot of those weird ones from the 80s. Like, gosh, I'm just trying to turn my head without turning my head away from the microphone, because I have like a bootleg section in my room, but it's more just the cool bootlegs I like. And then I have in my closet, I just have 2 boxes of just anything I find in the wild. I just throw it in there and I just keep it. It's always weird shit.
If I gave you the brand name, could you figure out the manufacturer?
Sure, I could try.
Transistors.
Transistors?
Yes.
Oof. Then I'd have to see the figure then, because that one doesn't ring a bell at all. Transistors?
Yeah, it was produced by 4-Star.
Really, 4-Star?
Yeah.
Same people that did like the Starscream and stuff, and the Dinobots.
Yes.
Ah,
To
I
me,
have no idea.
that is
I'd-
my favorite.
I'd have to
favorite
see
brand.
it. I'd have to see it. Maybe I'm not familiar with the name. Do you have an image? Something you could put in the chat,
Put that up there.
Looking it up right now. Give me a minute.
please do.
I did so many articles on this, and because it's
Transistors.
so yeah, it was
It's
and-
hilarious because it's like alternators. It's such a
It-
car,
it
such
came
a
out-
car part, and it's funny because what were they called? The ones that were with McDonald's? Gosh, the red, white, and blue ones that walked. One of them was named Captain Magma. Oh God, the four of them. Anyways, they were called super alternators at one point. One carded Chinese company imported those, but gosh, I forget the names of them. And they were pull back and everything. Anyways, let me see these transistors because this one's I'm drawing a blank
Don't
on
know if
that.
this is correct. You'll have to correct me here in a minute, probably. Tell me, oh, that ain't it.
Oh, it's in the live or is it in general
well, it comes in. You got to look at the feed.
chat? Okay.
There we go. Is it these?
Where's the image?
I don't see
I
crap
don't see
anymore.
it either. What the heck happened?
Put in the text chat where I post the stock.
That's it right there.
Up, did it pop up and then I went away? Sorry.
It went away. I don't know what's going on with your computer.
It's not my computer. It's Discord. Do you see it
All right.
now?
No, sir.
Because
I
there's a
got-
delay. Silly
Yeah,
delay.
that-
Okay, so what we're looking at right here, right? Is this, by the way, Megamus? Is this what you're talking about?
yes.
Okay, so that mold, first of all, that mold's history, that comes from Machine Robo. So
No, I get that, but that
that's
brand
that's Vicon.
did
So
the Seekers. They did.
I didn't know that they bootlegged that and brought it over here.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's not; those are not like in the kind of silly thing about that is that's technically almost like cousin GoBot stuff because that's the main Optimus Prime character. That's Vi Kung Fu and Kenryu, which is the smaller red one, and all it's
Right.
missing. The smaller robot goes into the bigger robot, but there's actually a smaller guy that goes into that red robot who is named Rom Stoll. Again,
Well-
this is all Machine Robo stuff.
right.
I'm surprised the guy doesn't list it as Machine
it
Robo.
actually had all three. I don't know why that doesn't show, but it had all three.
Oh, maybe it's that other image there.
Show him the Seekers.
Okay. Give me a second.
This is what got me like interested in this whole line, and I found that there were so many more. You had, Try Fly, Try Spy, all these things, and they were triple changers that came out around the same time that triple changers came out for Transformers.
85. Interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, it's
Right.
fascinating.
Well-
It's fascinating that the Vi Kung Fu was brought over because that was one of the biggest sticking points. If you're like a GoBot collector and was aware of Machine Robo's history, and you go like, it's so funny how like when GoBots was brought over, they didn't bring over when Machine Robo was brought over as GoBots, they didn't bring over their Optimus Prime character. It's like imagine if like Transformers was brought over, but they left out that truck dude Battle Cop, So it's like just unique color waves of, and I guess the wings are a little different too, judging by this image here. Oh yeah, the wings are.
They redesigned the fists, the missiles, the wings, the heads, everything. The back panels, everything was
That's
redesigned.
I like the wings. That's really different.
But they basically took the same concept and made it their own. That's 4-star.
Yeah, well, yeah, the 4-star that I'm really familiar with. Again, Seeker stuff and the Dinobots that they did later on, those unique ones. That's what I've always associated with 4-star more than anything. And they did a few. I think they did a Jump Starter bootlegs also. They did like 2 of those.
A bunch of them.
Yeah,
A bunch of
like
them.
of that mold. That's all I'm really. Who did those? There was another company that did the what are they called there? Oh my god. Why am I blanking? I'm looking right at you guys.
Are you talking about Kingdom?
No, I'm talking about Drill Car and Jet. Mailways. God, why am I?
Oh, the Remco.
Power Dashers. Power Dashers. Thank you. Jeez.
Oh, yeah. So Remco also used a lot of those names. That's why I thought that. And it basically, if it was a truck, it was like Truckman.
Okay.
You know, he just goofy stuff like that. But no, I was really, really big into the 4-star. And yes, they came under the Transistor line.
I was never aware of that name. Well, now I learned something today.
Yeah. And I really loved it. And it's what got me into looking at, and then I found out about Remco. And
there it is. Thank you, Plasticon. That's what I'm talking about. They have like yellow in the place of where the chrome areas would be and stuff sometimes. I have a few of those.
Oh, those, yeah, those weren't even like Kmart specials.
Yeah,
They
I have
were like
I have
curbside Kmart special blue.
I had so many of those throughout the years of just like garage sale hunting and just going like, why is car have yellow pieces, you know, instead of chrome?
Because he's car.
You know, instead
He's
of like
just
this
car.
Yeah. Whatever we'll call him. I know he has an official name, but whatever. That's all done years later. But either way, very, very cool. Very, very cool. God,
Yeah.
One day I have like 2 gigantic boxes of just miscellaneous 80s and 90s bootleg robot stuff, like Transformer stuff. Well, we'll call it transforming robot stuff specifically. And I've never like taken photos of it or even put it on display. I just took a few pieces that I liked. Like, oh, everyone loves Titanic bots, you know, everyone likes, you know, some of those weirder ones that they did throughout the years. And I kind of like put those on display, but in general, I have so many that I'm just sitting on. Who knows? Like I have one called Astrobot, it's a giant playset, and it was actually distributed by Bluebird, the same company that did like Mighty Max and Polly Pocket. And they did like this giant playset that on the box, it's advertised as a playset for GoBots because it's like the box art shows GoBot figures on it. And then then years later, for whatever reason, that mold was used by Beast Wars 2nd in Japan.
They remolded the crap out of it too.
Yeah, it's so weird and I remember finding that in the wild. Like I just found in the wild in the box. Like the person had it, and I was like, "What is this?" And this was like in the '90s, so I had no idea what I was finding. I thought it was a GoBot playset that I found or something. You know, this is like, you know, early internet days where you could look up anything. And then like years later, like seeing the Beast Wars 2nd playset and going like, wait, what's going on here? You know,
Here's a flashback for you.
Dinobot.
The Dinobots.
That one I'm not too familiar. I will give it credit here. There's not many. This is a conversation me and Aaron Archer has had many times. We always play this game. Name all the steam engine Transformers, including like GoBots and stuff. So it's nice to see another steam engine Transformer because that's pretty hard to come by. And the reason why he likes that is because his father worked on steam engines back in the day in the 40s. So he's always down for those. That's cool. And because you have like Loco, you have Loco, you have one of the train bots from Six Liner, you have technically one part of Astro Train, and that's it. And then everything else is bullet trains.
Yeah.
Everything else is bullet trains. So that's cool to add one to what's Dinobots. I'll let Aaron know about that. Dinobots, Playbots. I love that.
Yeah. You can also look up Motobot. There was a company out there, Buddy L made a lot of these pullback ones too.
I'm looking at some. I have a few boxed Buddy L stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love these because they're pullback robots. They work in robot mode and they work in vehicle mode.
Now you reminded me. So when Hasbro, when I was at San Diego Comic-Con last year, that's when they revealed the Agent Knight Rider Transformer, right? So I was there in person, and I'm like, when I get home, and I was talking to the Hasbro guys, I got to show you something I have in my collection. So Ertl back in the day had a line called, I'm turning my head here, Powertrons, and I have a Minton box.
Those
they did a Knight Rider, so it's an official licensed Knight Rider transforming robot from Powertrons. There's even a commercial, you can find it online. And like, so everyone's like, oh, Agent Knight, the first time Michael Knight's kit transforms. It's like, no, it's been done before, officially, not even bootleg. Like there's a lot. There was, again, that was look, it's in the same way when Ninja Turtles came out, and then after Ninja Turtles there was a sea of anthropomorphic animal attitude action figures, Cowboys of Moo Mesa, King Art, what do you call it, Biker Mice from Mars. There he is. Biker Mice from Mars and Street Sharks.
Mice from Mars, yep.
Snailians, I could go on and on. Extreme Dinosaurs. It's the same thing. When Transformers came out, and it just create like this mad dash to have Transformer robots in a toy line, and to be able to make, look at that thing. So the gimmick with that is when it bumps into something, it transforms. That little tab on the front of the car, and then it just auto transforms and stands up.
And goes the opposite way, right? Because it goes forward, he bumps into something, then he'll drive backward at you.
It's kind of like a reverse battle charger, for lack of better words,
It spins around and shows its guns. Yeah.
It's very cool. It's so funny that, like, again, and when that got revealed at SDCC, I'm like, oh man, do I gotta show you guys something when I get home? Like, that's crazy. That's great stuff. That's great stuff. I remember more now, because it sucks that, like, I wish I knew what the topic was before I would have planned something.
Knockoff. That's all it was.
Just knockoffs.
But it's just because, you know what it is? It's like I forget more than I remember. So it's like I know. One sec, just give me one. I'm just gonna go look at the shelf. I'm not facing. Hold on a second. Hold on.
I get that, but he is nowhere near as old as I am. I'm telling you.
Oh, I know. He is younger than both of us.
I got a few. Oh, I got one now. Now I remember. So I forget what the name of the line is, but the entire line of robots transform into recreational machines, like a pinball machine. One transforms into...
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, one turns into a cash register.
I hate to tell you this, but the pinball machine was in transistors.
Was it? Oh, was it transistors?
Yes.
Oh my God!
I was just talking about. I don't know if that was a company that acquired the knockoff to make a knockoff of a knockoff, but I mean,
because I have one of them carded. It's in my closet. I guess I just never paid attention to the name of the robot, unless it was like, well, again, like you mentioned, a lot of these bootlegs, sometimes they have like 50 different. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
I love this. That thing's $100 on eBay. You guys are crazy. So that line, they did a whole bunch of. They did one that was a cash register.
Yes.
I think his name was Cash.
Slot machine.
There was a slot machine. I have the slot. That's a gray. It's a gray one. It's the gray one is the slot machine. There's Cash. Cash was on the right there. Yeah, that's the slot machine.
And I hate to tell you, but that was 4-star.
So they call it game bots here. Okay. Yeah. See, and then if you go back, Plasticon, oh, there he is. There's Cash. There's Cash. See, he was called Cash. I remember he was called Cash. He had such a weird name. There he is. Cash register. Cash. God.
Because why not?
Oh my God. Yeah, those were weird. And what's so clever with that one, because his head is on a spring-loaded joint, and his head is what becomes the till. So it's like it opens up, and you could actually put like a coin in there. It's so freaking weird. Oh my God. These are going for like $89. What a world we live. But it's true though. Because now, after you've collected everything, all that's left is the bootlegs, and now they go up in value because how many of them survive?
Here's the roulette machine too.
I
have that one too. Jeez, oh my God!
I said the same thing. It really is that. I mean, how many people collect Transformers? A lot.
Well, especially you got to think about it, Megamus. Like, picture yourself, you're at BotCon 2001, right? Everyone's looking for the G1 8485s. Everyone's trying to the slightly, we'll use the air quote here, weirder guys are getting the Japanese stuff like the Victories and the Zones, right? And any of that bootleg stuff was people had their nose in the air. It's like, oh, it's cute, oh, it's funny, but like people would have their nose in the air. While on today, that's the weird and crazy and hard stuff to find now, and a G1 complete Prowl is a dime a dozen. you know?
Right.
And it's so funny how, but that's just always how it is because what is the population on those items? We don't know. You know, like how many of those survived? How many of those, like people didn't value those as collector items. If you were a kid back in the day, and see them as valuable. What do you got here, yourself? Oh, it's more of the Dinobot.
Yeah, it's the motorized ones. This is a multi-pack. They
What's
also
the thing on the bottom? What's on the bottom left there?
This is a Jeep.
No, on the bottom left. What is that? It's like
those are the motors.
Ah, interesting.
If you see in the bottom of the Jeep's got like this chunk. Well, that's one of these. They are interchangeable.
Okay. So to make it pull back. Okay, I see.
So you pull the motor off when you transform into robot mode, and you replace it back on. So that's how you have to do it with this. That's why you'll find a lot of these without these parts here on eBay all the time.
I might have one of these now because I do have some bootlegs where the back end of them, for whatever reason. Oh, what are you showing on there?
Megadus.
That's it.
Oh, he's got it right there in his hand.
I've got it.
Beauty.
Sorry, my fingers kind of messed up. Anyway,
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
very cool.
Yeah, I got some of that stuff. It's weird, and you know the funny thing is, I don't know if the canopy for the jet fell off or was just never there because they didn't care about quality there. They just kind of
well, they were probably
throw it out.
I've had this discussion a lot because a lot of people. This is where we're getting like deep into the semantics of like modern plastic engineering, but it's like what people don't realize is a lot of the Transformer toys that are made today in Vietnam are made with the plastic that used to be used with bootlegs. So the plastic, whenever you feel like a bootleg Transformer toy or something, and you go, "Ooh, that plastic feels cheap," it's called MABS. And MABS plastic, it's like a form of recycled plastic, and because it's recycled, there's more space in between the density. Like if you talk to Lego goes, "We have the most densest plastic toys in the world," meaning like you could like hit them with a hammer, they won't break, like they're so strong. And then that density goes down the ladder as you go to other toys and companies. And so for the longest time, you know, if you picked up any Beast Wars toy, you could whip that F at the shelf, at the wall, and it wouldn't break. Even if you took, I always use 1987 Chrome Dome. If you took Chrome Dome in vehicle mode and you like threw it at a wall, it would probably put a hole in the wall because they were so dense, the plastic back then. Today, now they use MABS plastic, the same effing plastic that bootlegs used back in the day. And it's so sad what's going on. That's why people are like, "Oh, why am I finding stress marks on my Transformer toys? You know, why are this happening?" Because it's just the density is not there anymore. And that canopy, again, that's probably that old MABS back in the day. That stuff yellows so much easier. It has, we use the term, it's called light sensitivity plastic. Like it has that issue. That's why, like, how many people have had bootlegs and the plastic that's used for the window has been yellowed over like nothing? You know, like it completely turned.
Yeah,
and
but going with plastic, and I really don't want to prolong this any more than we can.
Okay.
But if you look at like GPS,
yes,
plastic syndrome, okay, and you look at let's just go with Leo Kaiser because hey, guess what? That's what they're trying to sell right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the Japanese version, Kill Bison will shatter.
Oh, 100%.
But if you look at the China version, it doesn't.
So the GPS issues that happened with those items. Yeah, well, it's an engineering mishap in that how they would go about achieving those colors, and we call it GPS, but we also call it BPS because you have like Transmetal Megatron that suffers from that.
Sure.
Orkanock. I could go on and on.
I mean, you can go all the way back to Diaclone Blue Streak, the blue.
Yep.
We'll do
So
the same.
it's something where in order to achieve some of those colors, how they would do that again is it's a mixing of plastics, and the certain ones that were gold that did have those issues. We could look at Electro from the laser rods. I could go on, even a more modern example would be Legend Scale. This is a weird one. Legend Scale, like the smallest scale you could get. Movie 2007 Scorponok. Covered with gold plastic areas on him that just shatter like nothing. That's probably the most modern one I could think of.
Isn't the microscope one also have the same problem?
Which one?
It's the microscope
Plastic
from one of the. I think it was from Revenge of the Fallen.
That's the you're talking about Scalpel. That's the clear. That's more clear plastic.
Okay.
That I would like, it's the same thing. Then I would mention the clear lockdown that they did during animated. Clear plastic's a different.
The brothers.
Which ones?
Red Alert. I'm trying to remember the other two. Anyway, it was a convention exclusive, and it was all in clear plastic.
Are you talking RID?
Yes.
RID
you're talking about the Car Brothers.
They were prone to breakage.
Yeah, clear plastic, again, just the ability to achieve clear plastic and then putting clear plastic in areas that would be friction points is always a nightmare, because then that's a huge list. You could go like the JRX members, which is Midnight. Like one of them, the Japanese version, one of them, the combiner joint is on a clear plastic joint. Breaks all the time. American version, solid white. They learned their lesson from what happened with the Japanese one. Yeah, clear plastic's a whole other conversation, because in order to achieve clear, you're right away destroying the structural integrity of stuff. That's why you have like broken windshields and stuff like that on G1 items, because you're using a clear plastic as a joint, which is, why would you do that? It's not the best way to go about it, but again, they didn't think about it back then.
I mean, back then we weren't actually collecting toys; we were getting them to play with.
Well, it's it was
being collectors on them.
It's not only that, because the logic back then is toys. Toys had Japan has they have this term in Japan that I wish it could be applied to Americans, and in Japan they call it the 100 yen rule, which is anything you buy in life, you should, for every 100 yen that it costs you to purchase it. So like if a Diaclone blue streak, or what it was called, the Fair Lady Z back then, blue Fair Lady Z.
Right.
If it was 900 yen to buy it, then the rule is for every 100 yen that it costs, you should get 1 hour of enjoyment out of it. So if it was 900 yen back then, they say if you don't get 9 hours of enjoyment out of it, then it's not worth owning. So the belief is after 9 hours, if it breaks, that's what it should be worth. And that's their mentality with everything back then. So it's like if you owned a Famicom, which is what the Nintendo was back then, you should be, which at the time was like 28,000. It was like the equivalency of like $280 back then. You should be able to get at least minimum like a good 30 hours of entertainment out of it. And obviously we would get way more out of that, but that's how their logic is. Then it's a good product because you managed to get that. Where again, if you buy a lighter and it only costs you $1, then that means you should only get an hour of use out of it. And if it dies after an hour, well, you got your money's worth. So that's their kind of logic when it comes to spending and purchasing. And a lot of toys, they have that same kind of thinking, because kids play with toys way less over there in terms of that window. Transformers is considered like, and I'm talking, when I say Transformers, I mean 84, 85, 86, even going into Victory Zone, considered more of a preschool kind of line in a lot of ways. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Kids would be expected to stop playing with toys by the time they were 8. By 9, 10, 11, 12, they should be building Gundam model kits or completely be out of the game completely and start going to cram school. So there's a whole different cultural shift with that stuff. So when you have like...
So what you're telling me is that in the Japanese culture, that people will light their Bic more than their kids will play with their toys.
You're talking about a country that it was legal to smoke inside hospitals up until only about 1997. So I would say
I'm just saying.
I would
That's
say
why they
yes.
had lighter robots that actually worked.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about what's his name? Yeah, you're talking about what's this Shine Robo? What was his fucking name?
And
Yeah,
you wonder why when you go to
the lighter-
Japan and try and find
the lighter-
toys that are
The
always
lighter transformer.
like smoke written. That's why.
Oh yeah. A lot of yellow plastic.
Yeah.
A lot of
Well,
plastic damage.
I am going to go ahead and have us say our goodnights because we've been going for over 3 hours. This has been a very long one. That's okay.
My fault. My fault.
God, I gotta
Every
go.
time, it's my fault.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. That's okay. But I think we have a lot of good information out there for everybody. And obviously, next week will be the same way. So I'm going to have you guys say your goodbyes, and then we're going to sign off, and then we'll do this again some other time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, I feel up to it. Yeah, we'll do.
Go ahead, Megamus. Go ahead. Say goodnight.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
All right. I'm me. Find me at me. You know me.
Go ahead, Proto Man.
God, he he caught me in mid sentence. Proto Man, you know, you might know me. I made a little indie comic book called Spider-Man back in the '60s. That's all I'm gonna say.
What?
I'm just joking.
But anyway, I'll see you guys later. This has been another Plasticast, and I will have us on next week. Good night for now.
Good night, everybody.
Later.